It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Duke collapses versus Houston. Oh, my God. Florida beats Auburn and heads to the national championship. And tonight, we will get into the national championship preview and much, much more on a new episode of Joba in the Mouth. They're going to give him a significant. They're going to have a ton of money to spend. Why not put it in one of the top 3 offensive players in the league? We're going to be looking at Aaron Judge and saying that he can't win the big game. Michael Jordan said, I played 82 games. You don't see LeBron doing that.
This is a game where you got to go perform.
I told you, Giant fans, and Saquon Barkley, at this point, I'm gonna fight them all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off. Take it down. Say whatever you want about Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Really? And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. Back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette. And the name's coming from my eyes and let it go.
This is the Joba and the Mouth Show.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Joba and the Mouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Joba Chamberlain, and the speedster, Speedy Petey. Executive producer, Mr. Aaron Fishman. Owen the Tick Rickner is back, ladies and gentlemen. Tommy Scoops with our Sports Minute. Nick Goody with Nick's Bag of Balls. And much, much more. As I said, new show. Job in the Mouth, 631-676. Right? Am I right, Speedy? No, I'm sorry. 672-3108. I always forget that damn number. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Joba in the Mouth every single Mondays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. It is raining, ladies and gentlemen. It's been horrible here in Long Island all weekend long, and it continues to rain as God is dropping a deuce, or he's dropping a 3, a 1, or a 2, whatever you call it over here in Long Island. Yeah. It's definitely that. It's a toilet about to rock because, boy, oh, boy, I've got a lot to say about the Duke Blue Devils. But before I do that, Joba, what's going on, man?
Nothing. Just celebrating the CBC champions. You know, we had to go get a championship. You know, just in this
you mean
tournament.
Shirt? You had to go and get a shirt.
No, I mean I have shirts and hats, but you got to celebrate it when our men's sports win something. So. It doesn't happen often.
A tournament that nobody gives a crap about, and Joba's enjoying.
I would give a crap if you're getting $300,000 to win it.
Yeah, well, I mean the school's getting $300,000. I don't know if the players are getting.
No, it's an NIL package. It's all the kids.
All the kids are getting $300,000.
No,
really?
It's split between them all.
Oh, okay. So they're probably, if there's 12 kids, 12.
There's 17 on the roster.
Oh, there's 17 on the roster. So 17. Our economics teacher over there, Coach Fish, should tell us the number right over there.
Yeah, but it's broken down different because I actually found this out because one of Carter's good buddies that he played with ended up going to Nebraska, and so he ended up redshirting. So it's based upon like the playing time and whatever, but everybody will get something. Like obviously the MVP will get more, but every kid on the roster will get some sense of a dollar amount. And you spent a week and a half in Vegas?
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Vegas. Every time I go to Vegas, I've been there quite a few times. My first time at 21, I lost $5,000 in about, I don't know, 5 hours. After that, I was done. But I actually don't gamble anymore because of that whole Vegas trip. So I don't go to Mohegan Sun to gamble. If I'm there, I'm DJing or I'm hanging out at the clubs, or, I don't even drink. So I just know how to have fun without doing anything. So, yeah, Job,
Yeah,
you know all about that.
but you're a college kid that literally is like, okay, we could go to the NIT and doesn't mean anything, but then I can go and stay in Vegas and hang out and have a chance to win. I mean, they were guaranteed at least 50 grand.
Listen, it seems like it's a good move by the NIL, and obviously what the NCAA is trying to do is trying to bring in more money, and these kids are actually playing for something. So good for them. I'm happy for.
I guarantee you, the viewership was more for this tournament than the NIT, because I didn't watch one NIT game, and I watched. Granted, Nebraska was in it, but it was just, I think it was better covered than what the NIT ever is.
Well, there you go. At 8 o'clock, we'll be talking to former Dolphins and wide receiver OJ McDuffie will be joining us for the first time on Job in the Mouth. He's never been on any of our shows, so OJ is now going to drink some OJ after the show. Maybe I have a bottle of OJ. Maybe I'll tell him to, pour himself a cup. I'll pour myself a cup, and we'll drink it with our wonderful and beautiful ice shaker, ladies and gentlemen.
It better be Simply Orange.
Yeah, well, no.
Best one. Oh, that's the best. Oh, you're Tropicana?
I'm a Tropicana fan, and I'm just saying I don't like anything in it. I just like it pure and delicious.
Me too.
Yeah, so I don't like any of those that stuff in the middle of it. But anyways, we got a lot to get into. Our guest is going to be joining us at 8 o'clock. Duke had one of the most epic collapses in college basketball history, blowing a 14-point lead with 8:17 to go versus Houston in the Final Four matchup. It was the latest any team has had ever blown in a double-digit lead in a Final Four or a national championship game in NCAA history. So that's bad. Duke did not score a basket for 7.5 minutes in the second half and only scored one basket for the final 10 and a half minutes. I don't know why you put that, Speedy, of the game. Houston outscored Duke 28-11 in the final 8 minutes and 6 seconds and forced 5. What is it? Forced 5 Duke turnovers. Speedy, stop with this. Duke had 2 turnovers in the final minute, one on the block shot, and the other on an inbound play, leading to 5 Houston points. With Duke up by 1, they know what happened, Speedy. Tyrese Proctor missed a free throw, leading Cooper Flagg to committing a foul on a rebound and leading to 2 free throws to give Houston the lead for good. Houston advances to the national championship for the first time since 1982. Speedy, I don't know why you do this, but here's the thing. I'm going to get into it, and I don't even know why I read this garbage that Speedy puts up because none of it makes any difference. What happened in this game is pretty simple. It had to do with coaching. Jon Scheyer was absolutely putrid in the second half of the game. It wasn't good. And there's a lot to get into when you watch the game. I didn't even get to watch the game live. I actually watched the replay of the second half because I was actually DJing and working. And now it sucks because I couldn't really pay attention. I did have it on my phone. I did have the game on, but I couldn't really pay attention to it. The problem here is Jon Scheyer had no answers in the second half with 10 minutes left, inbounding the ball. They had so many problems in the game, especially in the second half, inbounding the ball. And that was the problem. And again, the defensive side of the ball for the Duke Blue Devils was fine. Houston, we know and we knew we're going to keep Duke offensively, within reach. They only had 67 points in a game. Duke, throughout the tournament, had 80 or more points in every single game. In this game, Houston absolutely shut down the Duke Blue Devils. And there's a lot of reasons why Houston's so good defensively. They like to press. They like to double team, obviously on inbound plays. And they also like to put the ball in play in positions where their offense can open up the game. But Jon Scheyer was absolutely putrid in the second half. And the Duke Blue Devils had a 14-point lead with what, seven and a half minutes left. And then they took the lead again. They took a 14-point lead with 4.5 minutes left, and then had a 9-point lead with 50 seconds left. And they couldn't close out Houston. And Houston made a lot of mistakes, and they practically gave the game away to the Duke Blue Devils. But it was just absolutely terrible coaching by Jon Scheyer. Jon Scheyer, I don't know if he understood where he was and the position he was in with the talent that he had on the basketball court. And Houston, I'm not saying Houston didn't have a good season. They were the number 1 seed in their bracket. They were sensational all season long, but they're not one of the better offensive teams in this tournament. As a matter of fact, they're one of the worst offensive teams in this tournament. And what threw me off was just every single thing. First of all, they called too many timeouts early in the game, which cost Scheyer with the last 3 minutes of the game not to have a timeout. And when you're trying to draw up plays, especially when Houston is calling a timeout, the advantage goes to Houston. And at the end of the game, you could have obviously understood what Jon Scheyer was going to do. Who did he go up to with the last, 17 seconds left of the game? He went to Cooper Flagg. And Houston knew who the ball was going to. They knew it was going to Flagg. So why, if you know, and there was the last play of the game for the Duke Blue Devils, and I'm not going to blame this on Cooper Flagg. This isn't Cooper Flagg's fault. This isn't the players' fault. This is one of the more talented teams and one of the better recruiting classes the Duke Blue Devils have ever had. If you look at the recruiting class that they brought in with Proctor and Knubel, and obviously Flagg, they have a tremendous amount of talent on this roster, defensively and offensively. And going into this game, they were obviously the favorites of coming out. But again, it was just terrible play calling by Jon Scheyer. Even at the end of the first half, I watched the end of the first half, and even though Duke had the lead, there was a lot of questionable play calling by Jon Scheyer on the sidelines. And Jon Scheyer was standing up really the whole second half, because I remember against Alabama, especially the last 10 minutes of the game, even though Duke had a huge lead throughout the last 10 minutes of that Alabama game, Jon Scheyer understood that where his team was, in the position that his team was, and what we've seen Alabama do in this tournament, that he could get into trouble. And Alabama could go on this 7-point or 8-point drive. And it wasn't like that with Houston. Houston was reaching really throughout the second half. They were forcing up shots. They weren't really challenged on some of the shots. They were forcing up jump shots. It wasn't one of those games that you could say, well, Houston just completely outplayed the Blue Devils the last 7 minutes of the game. They didn't outplay the Blue Devils. They really didn't. The Blue Devils actually outplayed Houston, but made a tremendous amount of mistakes. And the rebounding in this with the last 7 minutes of the game, if you look at the rebounds, and I could bring up the numbers in the last part of the game. First of all, they outscored Duke 42-33. Do you want to know something? They scored 90% of their points with 7 minutes left in the second half. 90% of the second half, their points came with 7 minutes left. And they shut down Flagg. They forced Flagg to put the ball in places he wasn't comfortable with. And Scheyer was standing there with his hands in his pants. It was really in his pockets, but he didn't know what to do. And obviously he was outcoached by a coach that obviously has been in this situation before, not in the Final Four, but has been in bad situations over the last couple of years. Houston's fallen short over and over and over again. There was something about this Houston team this year that just worried me because of the way the bracket was set up, that I thought that if Houston matched up against Duke in the Final Four, they were going to have problems against them because they're such a good defensive team. And I did not think that this was going to completely fall apart the way it did. And there's no excuse. And everybody's going to come out here and say, well, it's the players. The players go out there. The players are playing in the game. Wrong again, guys. It's the coaching. It is all about the coaching. You have all the talent in the world, and all you got to do is call the timeouts in the right places at the right parts of the game. And if he did that the way a coach is supposed to do that, maybe they don't let them go on these runs that they were going on. They had a 9-point lead with 51 or 52 seconds left. How the hell did they score 9? Actually, they scored 10 or 11 points with the last 55 seconds left of the game. Duke should have shut them down. They should have made them go to the hole. They shouldn't have put themselves in a position where they were getting open jump shots. And that was the problem in the game. And this all has to do with coaching. Shire does not, and I repeat, does not understand the value of a point or a value of a shot and how a game could absolutely, fall and fall the way it did in the game. I watched enough of college basketball over the years, watching the Duke Blue Devils. I watched Coach K fall apart over the last couple of years. Duke hasn't won a championship in over 10 years. But this was their best chance. This was their best recruiting class when you look at the talent that they had on their side. Now, they didn't have a great bench throughout the tournament, but you don't need it. Usually a team plays 7 guys, especially a good, high-performing team. And that's what Duke is. They're going to play a lot of flag, they're going to play a lot of Proctor, and they're going to play a lot of Knuppel. And that's what they did in the game, but they started to get in foul trouble in the second half of the game, and they started to use their bench. And some of these guys, obviously on the sidelines and inbounding plays, they're not as good when we've seen them in certain games in this tournament. And again, it goes to coaching, calling certain plays, calling the right plays, putting the right players in the right positions. And Jon Scheyer at the end of the game at the press conference, even though you would expect a coach to take responsibility of what happened, I wouldn't say that Jon Scheyer had said that. Jon Scheyer said, listen, they were the better team with the last 4 minutes of the game. We made a lot of mistakes, and that's why we lost it. If I was Jon Scheyer, I would have went out there. Listen, I blame myself. This is my fault. I have to be better. I have to be a better coach. I told you guys why it worries me in a big part of these tournament games. Do I trust Jon Scheyer making the right calls, making the right plays, making the right adjustments? I don't trust him. I don't trust him. And this goes on and on and on and on from what I could say what Coach K was thinking when he brought Jon Scheyer in. Now, I'm not saying Bobby Hurley would have done a better job or any of the other guys that I thought were better candidates than Jon Scheyer. But to me, Jon Scheyer proved to me one thing. In the big game, when it comes down to the big play or the big position where this team could have went to the national championship and win their first national championship in over 10 years, he didn't make the right calls. He didn't put his team in the right positions to succeed. And that's why the Duke Blue Devils are going to be watching the national championship tonight at home. And it's disgusting. It really is. I've never seen this before. This is one of the worst losses the Duke Blue Devils have ever had, really since the 80s. I remember in 80, I think it was 80, 81 or 82, when Coach K was a rookie. I think it was his 3rd or 4th season when they fell flat in the tournament. I think they were in the Sweet 16. It was the furthest Duke's ever been in. And they put up a debacle of a game, and everybody thought Coach K was going to get fired. He wasn't going to be here for a very long time. And I've listened to many different people. Keith, tell me that Scheyer is a great coach. He's sensational. This and this. He's had a great season. Blah, 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 blah. I gave him compliments about Alabama. I'm not going to give him compliments in this game. There was nothing in this game that told me that Jon Scheyer knew what he was doing or would ever know what he's doing in a big part of a game. Jon Scheyer's won a national championship. He has. He also was coached by one of the greatest coaches in college basketball history. Jon Scheyer was chosen by Coach K. What reasons? I don't know. Maybe it was on his hands and knees. I don't know. But the fact is right now, when you sit here today and watched what happened to the Duke Blue Devils in a game where they should have walked away up, probably win the game by 10 or 11, and then lose the game by 3, only tells me one thing: a complete debacle of coaching from Jon Scheyer. And that has to do, ladies and gentlemen, with Coach K making a decision and putting all his eggs in that basket, in the Scheyer basket. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If Jon Scheyer falls short on his face next year in the tournament, when he has a great recruiting class this coming right in, you have the Boozer Sons coming in, you have a couple other big-time players, you have 4 of the top 12 players in the nation in high school going to the Duke Blue Devils this coming offseason. And if they fall short again, or he has a big lead and then loses like this, he's going to get fired. I don't care what anybody says. I don't know why Duke and the fans, all of social media is not blaming him. This is an outrage. I was outraged from the play calling that he had in that game. And I didn't even get a chance to watch it. I called Speedy on the way to my next job. I told him, what the hell is going on here? And then as I watched Duke completely fall flat on their face with the last minute of the game, it just told me one thing. It has nothing to do with the talent. It has nothing to do with what the players did in the game. Cooper Flag had one of his best games. He did. He was him and the kid from Houston had the best games. And Knuppel was pretty good. Proctor was pretty good. It wasn't like their best players didn't have good games. They had good games. It had everything to do with coaching. If the coach put the Blue Devils in the right position to succeed, they would have won the game. That's the facts. And I don't care. Congratulations to Houston, by the way. I'm not going to take anything away from them. They played hard. They went out there and they didn't say die. They never said die in the game. No matter how bad the score was and where they were and the way they were, it was positioned with 4 minutes left. They went out there. They played hard. They played defense. They made sure they challenged Duke every part of that last 4 minutes and made Duke make a tremendous amount of mistakes. And that's why Duke didn't have a field goal in over 7 minutes because of the defense of Houston and the problems they had inbounding the ball.
Yep. And you talk about a coach like Kelvin Sampson, like he even said it after the game, like this team never quits. Even when they were down by 13 points, this team is not going to quit. They're going to continue to play defense. And they definitely showed that. And it was evident for a while, even when Houston got that technical foul on the inbound, which gave Duke an extra free throw, that Houston was not going to quit. And Houston was going to play very tough on the inbounding. And there was no adjustments after that for Duke to be able to do that. They had to call a timeout before that. There was nearly a 5-second violation very easily that could have been called before that. I think the inbounder just got it away at like 4.8, and then they got the turnover after that. So there were different occasions where it seemed like they were never adjusting and never running the same. They were running the same set play, and they were making it very tough on Flag. As good as Flag played, Flag had a very good game. They were not making things easy for them. Roberts inside did a very good job defensively at certain points, especially inside. They made it very tough on Flag. Flag had to earn everything. And while on the plays where he was inbounding it, it got so predictable. And that's where John Shire, all three of his tournament losses have come to. Not necessarily better coaches, but veteran coaches that know what they're doing. Rick Barnes, Tennessee, definitely a better coach. Obviously, Kelvin Sampson has been a great coach for a while with Houston. And then last year was NC State. I don't know if he's necessarily a better coach, but he's a veteran coach who just got fired in Kevin Keats. That's the entire theme of it. And the question has been remained, if Duke can be battle tested in this tournament because they got blown out. And they just proved the answer to that. They got too content, too comfortable, and lackadaisical down the stretch, making the sloppiest of mistakes. If you want to blame the players for one thing, the only thing you can blame them for is the offensive rebound. That's it. Everything else I agree with you is on Shire, and it's definitely one of the biggest collapses at any tournament game for a team that talented you will
Duke
ever
history.
see.
It was the biggest. It was the biggest collapse in Duke history, besides a couple of years ago when they lost against a 13 seed or whatever.
Yeah, they lost to Lehigh. It was a 15 seed.
It was a 15 seed.
That was 2012.
Yeah,
and this team was not as talented.
And that wasn't the Final Four. The way they lost in this game was just an absolute debacle, and it has everything to do with coaching. I don't care, and I don't care what everybody keeps saying about Coach K. He was there, and that they didn't really have the cameras on him. Who the hell cares if Coach K was there? Coach K wasn't the reason why they lost the game. It was me. Well, actually, it was Coach K's fault because he hired this idiot. That's the truth. He's the one that hired this idiot. I told you guys this guy was going to fall flat on his face, and it's going to happen again, guys. It's going to happen again. I promise you, next year, it's going to happen even worse.
Quickly before you make your point, Java, because we do have our guests waiting. I also want to give Kelvin Sampson a little more credit too. I know Josh was complaining in the car, like, what is he doing not fouling too? There's only a few teams you can get away with that, and how well Duke has shot free throws. I think he's good sticking to his guns. I know the broadcasts were bashing him for that. I give him a little bit of credit for being bold there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but also too, we're talking about teenagers. You got to remember that plays a factor. Coaching obviously is a part of it because we are talking about kids. We're not talking about men. We're talking about 18, 19-year-old kids with a lot of talent, with a lot of expectations. But you got to remember, these aren't grown men that have been put in these positions before. And yes, that comes into the aspect of coaching of when to call a timeout, when to slow them down, when to put them in the right situation. But how you can always just attack one person Yes, he didn't do the things right, but you're also talking about teenagers. What did you do when you were 18? You made mistakes. You got flustered. That happens.
You don't
And
get
yes, it
flustered
was one of the.
with 4 minutes left, Jabba, and you have a
and
lead. I mean, you don't get flustered. And if you are getting flustered, call the right timeouts. How do you have no timeout?
did you not just hear me?
Left?
That's exactly what I said. It goes into coaching, but you got to understand too, these are teenagers. And I agree with you. He could have slowed them down and called timeouts in certain situations. 100% agree with you. But you can't put it all on coach. These are kids. They have to put the basket.
Let me ask you a question.
Ball together.
Let me ask you a question, John. All right. These coaches make a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
They make a lot of money, right?
So do the players.
Right now, they're making NIL deals. But before that, these coaches are making a lot of money, right? And what do? They were picked. Coach K hand-picked Coach Shire. That's what he did. He handpicked this guy, and he said, this is the guy that's going to take this team for the next 2 decades to the promised land. He's going to win multiple national championships. And he had one of the best recruiting classes Duke has ever had. Cooper Flagg is a generational player. He is a generational player. And he showed you why he's a generational player in the game. And what did he do? He made the wrong play calls. He wasn't calling the right inbound calls. Why is Cooper Flagg inbounding the ball when he's your best player? Why don't you bring in your point guards? You go and recruit 2 very good guards. One of them was a top 12, top 10 recruit. You have him on your team, and you're not having him inbound the ball. Use your point guard. Does that make any sense? Why is Cooper Flagg bringing the ball up in almost every single play in the second half of the game? Cooper Flagg, he's not a point guard. He's a power forward /3 if you want to put him at a 3. I mean, he is not a guard. And it didn't make any sense. He's not even a good ball handler. He's a decent ball handler. So I just think Shire put them in such a bad position. And everybody knows what this Houston team likes to do. They love to press. That's what they do. That was their strength throughout this tournament. Why is Houston in the Final Four? They're in the Final Four because of their defense, not because of their offense. Their offense is one of the worst in this tournament. As a matter of fact, going into this game, no doubt they scored the least amount of points out of all these teams. They were one of the 3 worst offensive teams in this tournament, offensively. I mean, go look at the games that they won. They scored, 60 points, 65 points, 70 points. I think the most they scored in this tournament was against Duke.
It was 81 against Gonzaga.
That was only Gonzaga.
And it was only because they had so many offensive rebounds.
And that was at the end of the game. Right. When Gonzaga practically gave up. Okay? The fact is, to me, Houston was not a very good team throughout this tournament. As a matter of fact, they lost against they won against probably the best team in the tournament. And it was, yes, you're right. They're young. They're going to make mistakes. But again, it has to do with coaching. You have to point your finger at somebody. And he's the guy that got all the credit. I gave him all the credit with Alabama. And I am blaming him for this debacle of a loss. This could go down as one of the worst Final Four games we have ever seen a number 1 seed have from having a lead with 4 minutes left, 4 minutes left in the game, up 14. It was embarrassing. And there's nothing Shire could change that you could even think to change in that argument. It was embarrassing, and Shire should definitely in the offseason watch film and really sit down with Coach K and Coach K is going to have to point out what he didn't do right and what he did right throughout this tournament. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has a lot to do with where and what Duke is going to be in the future. If Shire falls apart next year, I think Duke is going to have to decide if he's the right guy for the job, because these recruiting classes that they are going to have this year and next year, next year's recruiting class might even be better than this year's recruiting class. It's embarrassing. Absolutely a debacle for the Duke Blue Devils. Congratulations to Houston. And moving on tonight to the national championship, have a chance to knock off the Florida Gators. It's going to be a fun game. It's not going to be highly watched, so that's going to be the problem. Duke going to the national championship would have been a good eye grabber for all the fans, because there's a lot of fans for the Duke Blue Devils. Not so much with Houston. Definitely Florida has a good following.
Yeah.
The Gators have a good following, but
They're
I don't.
Florida's favored by 1.5.
Yeah, it's going to be a close game. I think Florida's going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised the way Houston kept it very, very close. If they keep it very, very close against Florida, they can win that game because Florida made a lot of mistakes against Auburn, which could have cost them that game as well. So that was a close game as well. So we'll get into that a little bit I would say a little later because we got a lot of other things to get into. Are we have enough time for the golf clap?
Yep.
All right, let's go to golf clap.
This deserves a golf clap.
No doubt. Golf clap. Golf clap.
My golf clap of the weekend is pretty simple. Major League Baseball. And I'm going to give some credit to Rob Manfred. I don't usually do this, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to give him credit. Rob Manfred came out about these torpedo bats and said something very, very interesting. He said, this is good for baseball. Say whatever you want. Torpedo bats have been around for over 20 years, and everybody could use that. And everybody can go out there and change their bat sizes and width sizes as long as it fits what baseball's width and bat sizes are when it comes to the rule book. He says this is great for baseball. This obviously puts the Yankees back on top and obviously makes people, wonder if the Yankees have something or the Yankees are doing something that other teams should have been doing over the last couple of years. So bravo to Rob Manfred, as Joba says, for coming out and telling everybody that this is good for baseball. They're not cheating. This is all fair, and every team could do that. So my golf clap of the day goes to the one and only Rob Manfred. Thank you, Rob, for coming out and giving baseball a little sense of understanding of where baseball's been. And listen, deferred money has been around for a long, long time. Nobody's complained about it. And now the Dodgers are taking advantage of it. And now the Yankees in the offseason, they're taking advantage of the torpedo bats. They have somebody, what's his name? Lenny. They went to Lenny, and Lenny drew up some nice bat sizes. And for Volpe's hitting the ball and knocking the ball all over the place. This kid Rice looks really, really good with his torpedo bat. And listen, could you imagine when Giancarlo Stanton comes back with his torpedo bat? Forget about it. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold it with his forearms, but nevertheless, it's going to be very, very interesting if he comes back this year or when he comes back this year, if he actually goes to the torpedo bat. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest. He's never been on the show. He's been waiting calmly and carefully. We've been talking to former Dolphins wide receiver, O.J. McDuffie. But first, our Sports Minute with the one and only Aaron Fishman.
This is the Joba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right, guys, welcome back to another Sports Minute. It's Aaron Fishman here with a few stories before we get into the scores tonight. First story up, sources say the Los Angeles Chargers and quarterback Trey Lance have reached an agreement on a 1-year, up to $6.2 million deal with incentives. Lance joins veteran Taylor Heineke as backups to star quarterback Justin Herbert. Lance, who was the number 3 overall pick in the 2021 draft, is now onto his third team in those 4 years after the 49ers traded him to Dallas in 2023. Lance has yet to make an impact in the NFL and may be on his last chance to shake being one of the bigger busts in recent NFL draft history. Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran revealed in a new Red Sox documentary series titled The Clubhouse, A Year with the Red Sox, which is now on Netflix, that he attempted suicide during struggles earlier in his career a few years ago. I was already hearing it from the fans, Duran says in the series. And what they said to me, it was like, I've told myself 10 times worse in the mirror. That was a really tough time for me. I didn't even want to be here anymore. Duran claimed that he pulled the trigger on a gun, but it misfired, and that this moment of rock bottom thankfully turned it around for him and is now doing positive outreach for people in his similar situation. Duran is now considered one of the better players in the Red Sox and actually finished 8th in MVP voting last year. Jarren's decision to share his story is an act of courage that reaches far beyond baseball, Red Sox president and CEO Sam Kennedy said in a statement earlier today. By opening up, he's showing others who may be struggling that they're not alone and that asking for help isn't just okay, it's essential. Every member of this organization continues to stand with him. He has our deepest admiration. He's always had our full support, and we're incredibly fortunate to have him as part of our team. One more story. Former Celtics guard Marcus Smart got into a verbal altercation in a Wizards-Celtics matchup Sunday at TD Garden. He just crossed the line. We all know I don't do line crossing, Smart said after the Celtics beat the Wizards 124-90. You never want to see that, especially for a guy who's coming back and has given everything he's had to the city, a former teammate said about Smart, who was a big hero for the Celtics, but left the team before they won their title. Smart said he was pointing out the man to security, just trying to get him out of here before it escalated to more than what it was. Well, between these last two stories about their hometown heroes, I guess the only thing to say about the Boston fans is stay classy over there. Some scores in baseball today. The Yankees lost earlier today to the Tigers 6-2. Rodon got roughed up again. He's now 1-2 with a 5.19 ERA early on in this season. In action right now, sixth inning, Pirates are up 4-1 on the Cardinals. 3-2 Nationals over the Dodgers in the top of the sixth. Dodgers made a couple of errors in that game. Mackenzie Gore again firing a bunch of strikeouts for the Nationals. We have the Blue Jays up on the Red Sox in the bottom of the fifth, 3-1 in Boston. In Queens, the Mets are leading the Marlins 1-0. That's in the bottom of the third. In the top of the second, Royals and Twins 1-1. Bottoms 2, no score, Cubs and Rangers. Still to come tonight, Diamondbacks, Orioles, Mariners, Astros, Giants, Reds, and A's, Padres. In hockey, just a couple of scores going on right now. The Rangers are trying to choke their way out of their playoffs. They're losing 3-0 already early in the second to the Lightning. Goals by Kucherov, Point, and Gord. And no score halfway through the first between the Jets and the Blues. Still to come, Ducks and Oilers, Kings, Kraken, and Sharks, Flames. In basketball tonight, only 2 games in action. Pistons 68-70 make that 58 to the Kings. About 2 minutes left before halftime. And early, just before the start of the second quarter, it's 29-28 Heat over the Sixers. And of course, guys, starting in about 40 minutes, we have the national championship game, Florida and Houston. Guys, that's all the scores we have tonight. We are streaming live on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube on our Joba in the Mouth handle and on Instagram and Facebook under the Worldwide Sports Radio Network handle. You can now also find us in video on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure to like and subscribe to all our shorts and videos you see throughout the week. Now back to Errol, Joba, and Speedy for our guest on Joba and the Mouth.
Any questions?
What is this? This is the Joba and the Mouth Show.
631 672 3108 is the number to call. You're listening to Joba in the Mouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Joba Chamberlain, and the Speedster, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Joba in the Mouth every single Mondays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all the shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Before we get our guest in here, our show is brought to you by Ice Shaker, ladies and gentlemen. Go to iceshaker.com and shop all their official licensed collections from Star Wars to Marvel and so much more. Enjoy free shipping when you spend $50 or more. Go to iceshaker.com to check out all their great products and deals. And ladies and gentlemen, for the NFL, if you're a Lions fan, go get yourself a Lions Ice Shaker by going to www.iceshaker.com. If you're a Cowboys fan, well, you Cowgirls fan, you can go check them out and go get your Cowgirls wonderful Ice Shaker. If you're a Jet fan and you like to lose like my team likes to do, well, ladies and gentlemen, you can get yourself an Ice Shaker of the New York Jets emblem, which is a losing emblem. And if you're a Jaguars fan, boy, oh boy, a losing organization as well. Oh my God, go get yourself a Jaguars Ice Shaker as well. Oh, and by the way, if you're a Dolphins fan, as we all know, OG McDuffie is a Dolphins fan. Well, go get yourself a nice Mike McDaniel Ice Shaker with his beautiful face on it as he runs to halftime and makes sure he shows his ugly set of jumper pants as he always wears during the game. And now, ladies and gentlemen, he's been waiting carefully. We're now talking to former Dolphins wide receiver OJ McDuffie. OJ, what's up, buddy?
Man, I'm great, man. I'm enjoying this, man. I'm like, I got to tune in more often. That was fun while I was waiting, man. You guys do a great job, man. And Joba, huge fan of yours, man. You know, I played baseball growing up, man, and I would never want to face your ass. That's for damn sure.
You'd probably get me because I'd probably walk you, and then you set another record in stolen bases. So.
I would try at least. I would try.
well, Errol's going to try and steal a base on me too, but I think you'd have better.
Not try. I got 5 chances, and I'm not worried whatsoever. Joba likes to make jokes, but it's okay. When I do it, I'll be on the second base, and I'm going to be like,
whatever they do at second base, right, Errol? Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be doing. So Joba, as he's saying, that's not fair. He couldn't throw the ball. That's not fair. I'm gonna be like, hey, that's a stolen base for me, baby. I'm gonna get myself a nice little steak dinner for it. But anyways, we're not here to talk about me or Joba trying to pitch against whoever to try to throw me out. We got to talk about your Dolphins. And this offseason, there was a lot of questions with this team. They bring in an ex-Jet quarterback that I have no idea what they were thinking, but hey, Zach Wilson is the backup quarterback for Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe they could fix him. Maybe Mike McDaniel can fix him. I don't know. But what were your thoughts to bringing in Zach Wilson? And tell us, give us some feedback. If you were, obviously the owner or GM of the Dolphins, would you have made this move?
Well, you know what? It's hard to find a good starting quarterback in this league. So it's really hard. It's harder to find a good backup quarterback in this league. So, I think a guy like Zach Wilson is a guy that, he's drafted so high by the Jets that, he has to have some talent, right? And so you've seen some of these guys, we saw the resurrection of the running backs, the Saquon Barkley's, Derrick Henry, there's no resurrection for him, or the Josh Jacobs. I think some of these backup quarterbacks have had the opportunities too. I mean, you look at Geno Smith, and you look at some of the other guys that have gone somewhere, and actually, hell, they've made another name for themselves. And Josh Darnold's a great example of that. So maybe they didn't find the right Zach Wilson where he was, and maybe we can have him as a solid backup, because one thing we know about the Dolphins, we've lacked a solid backup, and two, we know that Tua is going to also be out, and this is a couple games. So if we can get a guy in there that can come in there and win us a couple games, I'm all in with what they've done. I just have to trust the process, man. It's a tough deal, man. I mean, I'm a diehard Dolphin fan since 1993. Didn't like them before that, but once they started paying my bills, they became my favorite team, as you know. So since then, man, since Marino, we've had like 26 starting quarterbacks, and it's been a tough deal for us since.
Yeah, I think it's the second highest in the AFC after the Browns, and like one of the highest in the NFL. And just watching that highlight there, you saw with Tua, with that concussion there, and obviously his history of concussions. I was saying at the time, like, that one was self-inflicted. He says he's going to be more manageable of it, but that one definitely is self-inflicted. So what are your thoughts to everything that the Dolphins have to do to manage that, and the contract that they gave him?
Well, the thing about it is, my biggest comment about everything is the best ability is availability. And, and Tua hasn't been as available as we need a quarterback to be. You look at the Buffalo Bills, who we hate down here in South Florida. I mean, Josh Allen's played like 140-something straight games, and you know what you're going to – every single time, you know what you're getting, you know what's going to happen. And so I just, I don't know how we can protect Tua from himself, but at the same time, once concussions start, they don't go away. They seem to add up. And so that worries me more than anything, but he's got to find a way to protect himself. And with that too, he can't sit in the pocket. Like, I played with the great Dan Marino. He would sit in the pocket and take a hit. Tua can't do that, because we're all worried when he takes a hit that he might not be able to play the next down or the next week or the next few weeks.
Do you think with like Tua and his decision, obviously there's probably been back and forth of like, hey, you might not remember your name here. Like, what do you think goes into that decision for him of continuing to play, knowing how common him getting concussed could be, and what the longevity of, like, does it have to get worse, or what do you think goes into that conversation? Like, as not only a friend, a teammate, but, somebody that cares for him for his long being, because we're only going to be athletes for whatever. We're going to be our people for the rest of our lives.
Right.
So what do you think goes into that? Because it's some of the times you watch the games and it's scary.
Yeah, that's a great question, Job. But you know how it goes, man. It's like, and you played with guys. You played a lot of guys that don't love baseball. They just love the money. They love maybe the fame, whatever they love, you know. But there's only a handful of guys, and people don't even know that there's only a handful of people that really love the sports that we play. And when you want to stay in a game like that, Tua loves football, but also Tua loves the money that he's making from football. So if I'm Tua personally, I'm going to be like, look, let the team or the doctors retire me. I'm not going to do it on my own because I'm still trying to make this couple $100 million that, you know, I've got on the table here, you know. But also Tua loves football. He really does. He loves football, man. And you know, that's the kind of guys you want out there on the field. You know, the guys that love the game, and you know, the guys that take a loss seriously. You know, I know when you play 162 in baseball, it's tough to take every single game tough, and loss is tough. But in football, hell, if I lost on Sunday, man, I didn't want to be out the rest of the week until we got another chance the next Sunday or Monday or whatever it might be. So I just know that Tua loves the game. That's part of the reason why he hasn't shut it down, but it's also got to be a money component as well.
We are talking to former Dolphins wide receiver O.J. McDuffie. He was a really good wide receiver in the 90s, had over 5,000 yards, was a sensational wide receiver. And now you look at the wide receivers that they have over there in Dolphinsville. I mean, you have quite really overpaid wide receivers. I'm not saying they're not good, but they're a lot of them. Jalen Waddle is fantastic. Obviously, Tyreek Hill is sensational. But my argument here right now, and we all know in Miami, it's fun. You can go out and party every single weekend. The clubs are ridiculous. The food is sensational. The women are wonderful to look at. There's no question. Over there with Tyreek Hill, I didn't know, and I'm just being honest here. Tyreek Hill is a personality. And Tyreek Hill, he loves to be in front of the camera. He loves the attention. He loves it. And Tyreek Hill over the years, I'm not saying it's all his fault, but some of the things that you watch what he does and you kind of shake your head like, why would you say that? Or why would you do that? Why would you go over there when you know people are watching you? There's cameras on you. Everybody's got a phone. When you were playing football, OJ, they didn't have camera phones. Nobody was recording everything that you're doing. Hey, look, it's Tyreek Hill, and they got a camera right in front of your face, and all you have to do is smack it out of that fan's hands, and that's abuse, or you could get sued for that, or something. And you're good. And this is the problem with Tyreek Hill. He has to understand that you're in front of cameras, you're in front of the public, you're making a lot of money, and you're making over $30 million. You're one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league. And not anymore, but you were at one point. And you wonder if Tyreek Hill actually knows the position and the superstar that he is. What are your thoughts to where Tyreek's head's at 90% of the time when he does these stupid things?
Yeah, you know what? I'm a huge fan of Tyreek Hill, man. He's a different dude out there on the football field. But yeah, man, you got to understand it. You know where you're at, who you are. It's not like me. I can walk around South Florida, nobody know who the hell I am. You know what I mean? Even when I played, you know. And so for the guys that have that type of notoriety, that type of like, and most of it, you know, because of your social media, you know, you see their faces a lot more than what we saw back in the day. All you saw us was, you know, wearing our helmets and we had, you know, a number. But there's a huge responsibility out there, especially when you're representing the organization, you're representing yourself. And sometimes I worry about Tyreek not understanding what that is. You talk about South Florida. South Florida is the worst place to go for probably anybody that's young with money, you know what I mean, and things like that. You talk about the water. I call it the www dot down here, you know, the water, the weather, and the women, you know, dot whatever you want to do after that. You know, it's a problem. It's a problem down here, you know what I mean? And so, you know, Tyreek needs to be the leader on this football team, that somebody that's that good, that's paid that well, that's that popular needs to be. Tyreek, you know, Tua's got the quarterback money. Tyreek, honestly, in my opinion, is the face of the organization. And so he needs to act that way. And that's a tough deal when you've got younger receivers, when you've got guys like Jalen Waddle, who's absolutely incredible and been like, honestly, just really cool about the situation, because at times I thought Jalen Waddle should be the receiver for our football team. When you've got these young guys and Malik Washingtons and Eric Ezekamas and guys like that, Tyreek needs to be a big brother for all those guys and show them the right way of doing things. And sometimes I think he falls a little short.
So on the defensive side of the ball, they obviously had to deal with a lot of injuries, 2 pass rushers especially that struggled to come back earlier than expected. And then they played well in the second half of the season with a new defensive coordinator. Jalen Ramsey's played great since he's got there. So what are your thoughts on what the Dolphins could improve on defense?
Well, we got to get bigger. We lost Calais. Calais, I think, was a huge part of what we were able to – I don't know how we were able to pull it off, but, man, he became a big part of what we do. We've got to get our defensive line, our ends back in. You talk about the guys that we've lost, but Jalen Phillips has got to be back out there. We've got to get Jalen Phillips back on the edge. We got to get Bradley Chubb back in there. I thought Chop Robinson came in as a rookie, first round rookie pick, that he did a pretty good job for us. So we've got some guys that have to be able to step up. But then you got to look at our safety position. We got so many holes kind of that we have in terms of positions. The safety position, we're going to be without Javon Holland, obviously. We're out. Our guy from Jordan Poyer from Buffalo. So we got to start over there for the most part. But I love Jalen Ramsey. I really do. He's a generational talent. He really is. And he does a lot of great things for us. But we need a lot of help. And Anthony Weaver, our defense coordinator, I thought did a great job of coming in for his first year and then figuring it out like you talked about. It was rough at the beginning, but I think we started figuring things out. I think the team's going to be pretty good, but we got to count on a lot of young talent to be really good.
I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit, OJ. You, as being a college athlete and understanding, what it was and how you do you think NIL has affected the college game in a negative light or a positive light? And do you think it changes some of the decisions for them to stay an extra year to make that money instead of, entering a draft or not?
Yeah, that's a great question. I hope they do stay another year. I wish they could stay more years because, you can't replicate the college experience, man. It's an unbelievable experience. And I think college isn't for everybody, but everybody needs to give it a shot, in my opinion, if they can, And
how'd you do against Nebraska?
I never played against Nebraska. I missed the Big Ten by a year. So I never played against Nebraska. But I probably would have whooped their ass. I mean, knowing how we handle things. But I think, obviously guys should have been getting paid. I think Penn State's probably going to clear like $200-something million this year. So why shouldn't that not go to the people that are creating that kind of money for the university? And I'm not sure about that number, but I know it's a lot of freaking money that these guys that are out there playing should be making to at least get some of it. I walked around campus at Penn State, full scholarship, of course. I mean, in terms of like what everybody wants to talk about, well, you had a free education. Yeah, I had a free education, but I had $0 in my pocket. I was broke as hell. We made $12 a weekend in weekend money.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you imagine trying to live off of that crap, right? You know what I mean? So I get what people are saying about the free education, but what about the money we make for the university? And then what about the life that we have to live on campus, not being able to do anything other than play football and go to class, And there's other people that I walk by restaurants watching people eating dinner, and it was like, damn, that'd be nice. Now I think they have like, memberships with some of these restaurants where the guys can go and eat, at these restaurants on campus, or off campus or whatever in town, it's nice, man. It really is nice. So I think the NIL money is deserved. I think what it does is kind of evens the playing field. Everybody's got money. All these universities have money. What are their alumni willing to ante up and get these players? Like some of these universities were doing well before it was legal. This was going on. Now it's like, it's legal. Hell, Penn State has 760,000 living alumni. If we can ante up, I think we can be competitive for a long time.
We are talking to former Dolphins wide receiver O.J. McDuffie. First time on Joba in the Mouth. First time on any of our shows. He's incredible. He's got a great personality. Was a great football player, professional athlete, and obviously great college player. OJ, you look at the Dolphins, going back to the Dolphins,
Mhm.
Mike McDaniel is a great young coach. He really is sensational, has a great personality. He's like Mighty Mouse. When when he's standing up there talking to the press, he has a step-on stool. He's not a tall man. He's very, very small. He loves his hip-hop music. I've heard many different stories about this guy on the practice field. The players are just like enamored by how much hip-hop he knows, from the olden days to the new music that he listens to today. What type of coach is Mike McDaniel that you've seen when you've been on the field? And do you think he's on the hot seat? Because if he falls short this year, with all the pressure that he has over there in the AFC East, with Buffalo really been dominating the division, obviously the New England Patriots with Vrabel now in the division, they're getting better. Who knows what the Jets are going to be? I like what they've done, bringing in the coaching staff that they brought in, but who knows? We always say, oh, this is a great coaching staff, and the Jets fall flat on their face. So what are your thoughts to Mike McDaniel as a coach, and do you think he's on the hot seat?
I think everybody feels like he's on the hot seat. I mean, I think our owner even said that, both he and Chris Greer, our GM, are on the hot seat this year. Status quo it's not enough anymore. When you look at a team, it's going on Mike's fourth year, playoffs, not make the playoffs. That's not acceptable. You got to start getting better and better and better. All these owners care about are winning chips, getting rings. They all got money. Money's not a problem for these guys that own teams. What they want to do is they want to go to that owners meeting that they just had and be like, look, with a championship ring or one coming on their finger. That's all Mr. Stephen Ross wants from this team. And so we've been average for way too long down here in Miami. And we count on Mike to make it happen for us, man. So I like Mike as a coach. I know the players absolutely love him. At times I wonder if he's too close to the players as buddy, instead of being that guy that's got to, slap somebody in the shape, figuratively, And I think that
he's not tall enough.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Jimmy was about the same height. Jimmy Johnson was the same height. And I guarantee when Jimmy walked through the locker room, everybody was intimidated. Marino, myself,
face was always
everybody
red.
else.
His
What's
face
that?
was
Yeah,
always-
exactly right. Exactly right. So
you didn't know if he was angry or happy because his
we
face
didn't know
was
what
always
the
red.
hell it was, man. He never let us know what the hell was going on in his mind. That's for sure. And that was part of his lure. That's part of what made him such a great coach at times, because guys were like on edge all the time, not comfortable. And I hate when guys get comfortable in the locker room. Like I used to with Jimmy and with Don Shula, we'd be watching film in the meeting room. We look out the window and there's wide receivers working out, getting a tryout. And we're looking around ourselves in the meeting room like, well, who the hell's in trouble in here? That's how they always wanted guys to be on edge and thinking that their job is in jeopardy. And I don't know if a lot of guys on this football team for the Miami Dolphins right now feel like their job's in jeopardy. Should always play every single day like you're about to lose your job. And that's important.
So you got to play with Dan Marino for a little while. What was he like off the field? And do you have a good Dan Marino story?
Oh, Danny's cool as hell, man. That's my guy. That's my guy. Danny, he gets a bad rap sometimes because, people say, well, Danny didn't sign my autograph. He didn't blah, blah, blah. Dude, if Danny starts signing autographs, and of course, like I talked about me earlier, I don't get recognized. Danny gets recognized everywhere he goes. So if he sits there and signs one, then if he turns the second one down, then they're mad at him for that one, So he can't win. He can't win in the situation, man. But Danny and I, we've had a couple little I'll tell you a quick story about when I first got down here in Miami. Danny heard that I could throw a football 70 yards. And I told him I could. And he was like, we'll bet. He said, I'll bet you $1,000. At that point, I didn't have my signing bonus at that point. I told you how broke I was at Penn State, right? So I was like, but I knew I could throw the ball 70 yards, right? And so a couple of days go by. We're in 2 days. And then after the second practice, the third day, he comes up and says, all right, well, Jay, you going to make that bet? I'm like, yeah, I'll make that bet. So I go out there and I throw the football like 73 yards. That's somewhere over 70 yards.
Wow.
Put it that way. And Danny comes up to me. He's like, damn, man, I can't throw it that far. And this is Dan Marino saying he can't throw it that far. But, of course, Danny can throw 40 yards, zip, zip, zip. He don't need to throw it that far. Any quarterback that has to throw it that far, it's only a Hail Mary situation anyway. So it's not a big deal right there. But from that point on, man, Danny and I were really, really cool. We started off a little tough too because he went to Pitt, I went to Penn State. There's not a lot of synergy there. But man, he's just a great guy. And off the field, man, cool as hell to hang out with. He really is cool. He loves to hang out. You know what I mean? Because, especially amongst guys that he played with, because a lot of times he just can't go anywhere and do things. He can't just show up at a I don't know, whatever the local sports bar is and just hang out at the bar and have fun. But when he's around guys that he played with, man, he really loosens up and has a good time. He's a good dude.
Did he give you some isotoners from Ace Ventura?
Don't I wish, bro. Don't I wish, man. That's one thing, too. I said, Dan's a badass man when you can sell isotoner gloves in South Florida. That's a bad man right there, right? But I've got some pretty good pictures. I took some pictures with Jim Carrey when he was down here recording it. But man, that was a lot of fun too, bro. Just because everybody watched. I don't know, some of you guys. I don't know how old you guys are, but in Living Color, when Jim Carrey was Fire Marshal Bill and all that shit, man, that was a lot of fun. But Danny hasn't, man. Other than that $1,000, he hasn't given me anything, has he? Now I think about it. Man, you brought up, that's rough right there. He hasn't given me a damn thing since I've been down here.
This guy. By the way, he was also in the movie Bad Boys too. So
correct, he was.
Remember when he had his car stolen from him, or he was.
You don't want to buy this one,
right?
He was like, I remember Will Smith saying, "This is a good car. This is a good car," but Dan Marino doesn't want to buy this one.
That's right. He's making his cameos, man. And it's pretty cool because he really hadn't done a lot since Ace Ventura, but lately he's been out and about a lot more, man. And I love that about Danny because, you know what? If you had that notoriety and that fame down here, man, why not maximize the abilities to be out and about and amongst people, man? I think he's starting to do that a lot more.
We are talking to former Dolphins wide receiver OJ McDuffie. OJ, here's my question, and I'm being serious. I don't want to get you in trouble, but there's a lot of stories with your owner over there, and Stephen Ross has been a laughingstock owner. A lot of people have taken shots at some of the things he's done over the years, bringing in, partial ownership, Jennifer Lopez, and all these different movie stars and actresses owning a piece of the Dolphins. We all know that everybody in the world owns the Green Bay Packers, but for some reason, the Dolphins, and Stephen Ross does not need to bring in any partial owners. I mean, this guy is a very wealthy man. Why is it that he and Woody Johnson are just laughing stocks of the NFL? What is it that really brings people and fans, or even people that don't like the Dolphins, can't stand this man? I don't get it. I don't know what he's done. I haven't seen anything bad in the tabloids that you could say this guy's he's a real scumbag. Right. I don't see it. What is it why people don't like him?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the lack of our success contributes to our fan base when it comes to, him not, being very popular. But you look at an owner that's pretty much hands off, what you like when it comes to an owner. He writes a check for everything. He rebuilt our stadium. He built a brand new practice facility on his own dime. Didn't ask for taxpayer money, didn't ask for the city of Miami or Broward or Fort Lauderdale to pay for it. He brings in the hottest head coaches that are out there that are willing to come here. I mean, hell, who didn't think Nick Saban wasn't one of the best guys to go after? Harbaugh wasn't one of the best guys to go after. Peyton weren't some of the best guys to go after. He does all that. Sometimes it's kind of, not the right way, it seems like, because we've gotten in trouble for it. But at the same time, this is an owner that opens up his checkbooks. All he wants to do is win. He gives the guys that's supposed to know football the freedom to do what they're doing. And so I don't get the bad rap that he gets. I mean, he takes care of the alumni like no other organization. Well, what they do for us as alumni down here, hell, we've got our own suite. We pay $50 a game for 2 tickets and a parking pass, food and drink in the suite for 60 plus guys that come in there and then we get guys from other teams like, your owner does what for you guys? And so he's one of the best owners in the game, man. And the fact that we're not doing well and representing him well as a football team, that's been the biggest problem for him. So if we get some wins in there, win a championship here or there, or at least advance in the playoffs one time, I think people start understanding that he's doing everything he can do, because I promise you, this man opens up his checkbook and, the sky's the limit with him. Like you talked about, he's got money for days and all he wants to do is win. That's it. These guys show up at these owners meetings. All they want to do is show up with a ring on their finger, man. And that's it. And that's all Stephen Ross wants.
So that's why they were so high in the NFLPA scale. They were like the third highest team. They have
right. You saw that, right? Yeah.
They get all these
facilities. The facility is like ridiculous. I mean, I wouldn't even want to go out on the football field either. I just want to hang back in some of the lounge chairs, some of the jacuzzis. You know what I mean? All that stuff they've got going on, man. It's club, man.
His suite. Does he have a jacuzzi sitting right there in front of the game where he could just sit with all the pretty ladies and enjoy himself? I mean, seriously, I could see.
He's a married man. He's just chilling, bro.
All right. Well, I could see a guy like Stephen Ross sitting in a jacuzzi with all these sexy ladies around him, enjoying a nice pina colada and just watching the football. I see him doing that. Yeah. Stephen Ross, man, what a unique individual. And I never got a chance to meet him, but I've heard anybody that's met the guy has said that he's a really, really nice guy, but he gets a lot of attacks from people that don't know him and has thrown him under the bus. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, he's got a loyalty thing too, man. And sometimes they ask for people's jobs. They always want, people always want somebody's jobs. Fire this guy, fire that guy. Stephen Ross is not that type of owner. And, once he gets to know somebody, he's got loyalty to him. They've got loyalty to him. They're in until they can't be in. And I think that it's a good trait for Stephen Ross. I think staying the course is always important for organizations. Having the continuity is always important for organizations. If you keep changing head coach and GMs every other year, you're going to be in the same position every single time. So this year right now, Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, this is their shot. He's giving them this shot right here to go out there and change the narrative.
The Dolphins ownership hires all the hottest coaches, and then they also hire googly eye Adam Gase.
Yeah, well, he was a hot part. He's a hot commodity then too, though. He was a hell of a coordinator, offensive coordinator. Everybody was like, we weren't the only ones that were trying to get Adam Gase. It just didn't work out for us, man. So everybody's always playing the result. It's always playing the result. It didn't work out for us. Now, why'd you get that guy? And then, of course, all the memes and things. It's a tough deal.
He does hire the hottest reporters too. I can't lie. I mean, those.
But you're talking about the one that Jeff was obsessed with. Yeah,
they have the hottest reporters, and I'm telling you, Stephen Ross definitely is behind that too. He has to be behind that too. I mean, the guy, he's a unique individual. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I feel sorry for the guy, because he's always in the tabloids. You hear Stephen A. Smith throw him on Stephen A. Smith don't even know Stephen Ross, but he throws him and Jerry Jones under the bus. These guys, Jerry Jones, Woody Johnson, and Stephen Ross, those are the three owners that always get a bad rap.
You look at Woody Johnson though and Jerry Jones, they're so involved though, man. They're so involved with their team that they're the GMs really. So when things don't go right, I get why they get it. Stephen Ross doesn't do that. He's like hands off and let the guys that know football handle football. And look. And look what else he's done down here, though. You talk about the minor ownerships that we have with some of the famous people, but my goodness, he brought the Miami Open down here, the F1. Everything he's done right here is turned into amazing. It's turned to gold down here. The F1 series that we have is a 10-year deal. They tell me that brings in every year, those 10 years, it brings in Super Bowl money down in South Florida. You know what Super Bowl does to a city. Every city's clamoring for a Super Bowl. We got a 10-year deal with F1, and we're making that every year, and we'll have a couple of Super Bowls in the middle of that, and then the Miami Open is like one of the major, events in tennis down here, and it's been amazing. So I get what you're saying about the three guys that are being maligned, but those other two, they're way too involved, and that's why they should get more criticism than Stephen Ross does, because he's pretty hands off when it comes to football operations.
Go ahead, Jabba.
I mean. I really, at this point, too, it's like when you think about ownership and how you said, hands off and let the football people handle the football people, do you think that has a trickle-down effect into the locker room and how they see it? Because obviously in New York, it's kind of, that way with now it's obviously changed with, facial hair and things like that. But do you think there's a trickle down effect when you see like either the loyalty side of it or like the other side of it when there is changes? Do you think there is a trickle down effect that gets into the clubhouse or locker room?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, it really is. And, me talk about the facial hair because you wouldn't – last year you couldn't play for the Yankees. This year you could, right? It's it's kind of crazy. And, of course, you had a very involved owner when you were there as well. But I think that the loyalty, I think some of our guys do not show the loyalty, not necessarily, I don't know if I want to use loyalty, but they don't show out and show up for the guys like our owner as well as they're treated by our owner and our organization. It's like it's Club Med over there. It's amazing how they're treated over there. And Speedy, you talk about a little bit how we're ranked high in terms of everything. Every single thing that they have in that facility is like A or A plus. So what else you do? You show up and you show your appreciation by going out there and be successful on the football field. I think there's a lot of guys that just are chilling. Hell, the 72 Dolphin team, I was at that training camp when I first got to the Dolphins in 93, and I couldn't believe how bad it was. Their living and practice field conditions were, and they kicked a lot of ass. You know what I mean? These guys got it the exact opposite, total opposite, state of the art, everything. And we go out there and we're, mediocre 500 football team. And so our owner does all he can. Our players need to start reciprocating that and showing him how much they appreciate all he does for them.
Before we let you go, OJ, I know you're busy. You're heading to a party. Speedy was telling me you're taking care of business over there in Florida.
Yeah, we're gonna go watch. We got a date for the final game.
Oh, there you go, man. But before we let you go, I got a question for you. And we argue this on the show a lot. And there's a lot of great young wide receivers in the league right now, and a lot of them are making money. If you were to give me, you're obviously you were an NFL player, 8 years, successful, 5,000 yards. You look at the game, it's changed, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
Could you give us your 5 top wide receivers from 1 to 5 and why?
Ooh. Top 5. Okay. I should have been ready for this question, right? That's on me right there. I got to think about some squads here.
Because I've argued this before this year. Jamar Chase, he's a good wide receiver. I didn't put him in my top 5. I really didn't.
Well, that's crazy now. When you win the triple crown, like, right? You got.
I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about before past year.
I wanted him in the draft down here, bro.
I had him 6.
I wanted him in the draft down here, and it didn't work out for us. Let's see. So I do like Jamar Chase. Obviously, I like his stature, what he does physically. He's unbelievable.
Put him number 1?
No, I don't know if I got him number 1. Yeah, I think my number 1 guy as a wide receiver's got to be probably Justin Jefferson. Is probably my number 1 guy. I like guys. When I played, one of my favorite guys, a guy like Cooper Kupp. I know he's been a little banged up and out at times, but Cooper Kupp is one of my favorite receivers because he just gets it done all the time. CeeDee Lamb's been pretty good. Who else, man? It's that man. I'm trying to think.
You got a couple of good ones over there. Jalen Waddle is.
I love Waddle, but see, I'm a homer. I wasn't gonna name any of my guys because I'm a homer when it comes to my guys. Waddle and Tyreek are outstanding. Waddle, when he's healthy, is probably one of the best receivers in the game for sure. I mean, he's one of my absolute favorite guys, and he's a great locker room guy too, which I love about him too. But I mean, I think right now, it's hard not to give Jamar Chase the top nod right now, man. It's just like he just brings so much to the table. And here's the thing about it, though. We had trouble like getting Tyreek going this year, and they're like, well, they're playing this cover, they're playing that cover. Here's the thing about it. Every time they go into games with Justin Jefferson or they go into a game with Jamar Chase, they're trying to take those guys away, and they still get open. They still get it going. So the guys that know they're getting double teamed, or the guys that know they're getting special attention and still come up with great numbers, those are my kind of guys. I'm an A.J. Brown. I like A.J. Brown. I like Devontae Smith a lot. And they've got the best tandem, I think, because they really do have a 1A and 1B when it comes to their receivers. So,
you're going to be watching for a very, very long time. In 3 years, he's going to be the best wide receiver in the league. I've been arguing this, and I think this kid is so special. Brian Thomas Jr.
Really?
That kid, yes. I think he's special. I watched him in the Pro Bowl. I know it's just, and I watched him throughout the season. This guy had third-string quarterbacks throwing him the ball. And look at the numbers he was putting up.
Yeah.
It was, since he was the third best wide receiver in the league. If you look at his numbers, and it's pretty incredible. Last year, 87 receptions, 133 targets, 1,282 yards. I think he was rookie of the year. I'm sorry. I thought he was rookie of the year. As good as Jaden Daniels was, this guy had 10 touchdowns. Who was throwing him the ball? Who was throwing him the ball? It wasn't. And by the way, their quarterback over there, I don't know, man. He got overpaid, and I think he's a bust. I really think he's a bust. So and he can't stay healthy either. He cannot stay healthy. So
right. Well,
Brian Thomas Jr. should have been, to me, was rookie.
You know him personally. I think this is a personal pick for you.
No. I don't know him personally.
Did you go to the same high school or what happened?
No. First of all, he went to LSU. All these wide receivers, neighbors went to LSU. Look at the kid. All these guys, all the great wide receivers, they go to LSU or Ohio State. That's where they. You're
right.
It's incredible, the wide receivers that come out of these schools. It's unbelievable. And I like this kid Warren from Penn State, by the way. And I know you
Tyler
went to
Warren's going to be a beast. He's going to be he's going to be very special at the next level for sure. He does a lot. He does a lot, man. I mean, the guy was a high school quarterback, so he can throw it, he can run it, he can catch it, he can block. He's a big guy. He's big as hell, man. Like, and we're going to miss him a lot.
You went to Penn State. I had to do that. Right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Man. We had a fun run, man. It was fun. You know, going to the playoff game against SMU. It was 19 degrees out there. You know, I'm true South Floridian now, man. I don't do cold weather anymore, bro. You know, I don't even go back to Ohio where I'm from because, you know, unless I absolutely have to. You know, they get mad at me at times. I say, "What's the weather?" They say, "Well, it's 40." I say, "I'll see you in a couple months then." You know, and I keep it moving. But it was fun. It was a fun run, and James Franklin's doing a hell of a job for us there.
All right, man. Well, go watch the game. Go hang out.
Who you guys got? Wait a minute. Hold up. I got a couple more questions. I got a little more time here.
I got Houston.
Who you guys got tonight?
All right, Speedy has Houston.
Jabba,
who do you have?
Low scoring game.
Who do you have, Jabba?
I have Florida.
Okay.
I have
What about
Florida.
you, Errol?
I have Florida too.
Okay.
Not the only reason why I don't have Houston. I did believe if there was anybody to beat Duke, it was going to be Houston. I don't know what it was, but going into the tournament, I said the only team that can beat Duke is Houston. If Duke won against Houston, it didn't matter who they matched up against, Auburn or Florida, they beat them. I just think Florida, and they have the best point guard in the tournament, and I think he's going to cause a lot of problems and a lot of ruckus in this game. So I think, and by the way, he's a top 10 pick. He's going into
no doubt. He elevated himself big time for sure.
Yeah, so I agree with Jabba. I'm going with Florida. But that's where we're going, man. Well, have fun, man. I wish
guys. Thank you, guys. This was a lot of fun, man. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely, man. And we want you to come on again, and we want you to be a fan of the show. So go check us out, man.
I will. I'm definitely a fan, man. I love it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. We were just talking to former Dolphins wide receiver OJ McDuffie. Fantastic. As always, these Dolphin players, every time we have these, Speedy, we've had a ton of Dolphin players on the show over the years.
Oh, yeah.
They're all funny, and they're all unique, and they all speak such high praise of Ross. Every one of them. I've never heard one of them say that Ross was not a good. And what is he? What is Owen putting over here? Notice how Errol didn't use Ayuk as a top wide receiver. First of all,
last season he got hurt.
I didn't even mention that, and he's attacking it. Figure that one out. Speaking of attacking, Florida beat Auburn in the first game of the Final Four after trailing by 8 points at the halftime. Florida went on an 11-3 run to open the second half and forced 12 Auburn turnovers in the second half after having 2 in the first half. SEC Player of the Year, Johnny Broom had just 3 points in the second half and only attempted 4 total shots. Auburn shot 28% from 3, their 5th time shooting under 30% from 3 when facing an SEC opponent. Florida guard Walter Clayton Jr., which we were just talking about, continued his dominant play with 34 points, 20 of those points coming in the second half. Clayton has made multiple 3-pointers in all 5 tournament games so far and is 20 of 21 from the free throw line. Florida advances to their first national championship game since 2007 when they won their second of back-to-back championships under Billy Donovan. First of all, I was very impressed with Florida, especially going into the second half. They were down by, I think, 8 or 7 points against Auburn. And then they pulled ahead of the game because of their 3-point shooting, getting to the free throw line, causing ruckus on the boards. And you wouldn't have thought that against Auburn. Auburn is probably a better rebounding team throughout the tournament. Florida out-rebounded them in the second half. And they played just great defense in the game. They put Auburn in positions where they couldn't put the ball in the basket, and they had problems. And Broom, he didn't look healthy in the game. I don't care what anybody says. Broom is a good player. He's one of the best players in the nation. He's going to be a top draft pick this coming year in this year's draft. I don't know if he's a top 10 because some of those European players, but he's definitely a top 13 pick. But Broom couldn't do anything in the second half. And one of the main reasons why, he just didn't look healthy. He was limping a lot of the game. It looked like his ankle wasn't 100% healthy. He obviously went out there and tried his best. But Auburn, when he's not at the top of his game, you can see Auburn has a lack of offense. They couldn't do anything offensively in the game, especially in the second half. And Florida started to pull away because of Clayton. Clayton is by far the best point guard in this tournament. He was sensational. Nobody could stop him when he went left, when he went right. He was drawing fouls. He was amazing. And again, the only way Houston wins this game tonight is if they stop Clayton. If they don't stop Clayton, he's going to run all over him. He's going to shoot all over them. And Houston's going to have a long night. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If Florida scores 80 or more points, this game is going to get out of hand. Because the way Houston plays, they got to keep these offensive teams under 70 if they plan to beat these high-scoring teams. And Florida is a high-scoring team, one of the better offensive teams in the nation. They like to shoot a lot of threes, and they're dangerous on the perimeter. And in this particular game against Auburn, they shot their lights out of the ball in the second half of the game. And that's why Auburn couldn't compete. And they were actually, Auburn was actually outcoached once again. And this is a young coach right over here with the Florida Gators. And this is a guy that took over how many years ago, Speedy? 3 years ago. He's a young coach, just like John Shire. He didn't make the mistakes that John Shire made against a team that they were absolutely better than. Florida was outmatched in going into that game. They were not favorites. I don't care what anybody says. Auburn was the better team. Oh, yeah. Auburn and Duke were the best teams left in the Final Four. Florida just outplayed them, out-rebounded them in the most important part of the game, out-free throw shoot them, and out-shoot them. And they had the best player on the court in the most important parts of the game. That's why Florida is moving on, well, right now playing in the national title game because of just the great rebounding and shooting display they had in the second half.
Yeah, you look at the willingness of these guys to shoot the contested threes and spacing the way Clayton has done, and a lot of this backcourt is done for Florida. That's what really rallied them back in that game, because you're right, Auburn not only was up by 8, but pretty steadily up by 8 most of the first half. They got the first basket to open the second half, and then they just never recovered after that. And Florida took advantage of all those turnovers, and that's something they did very well against Texas Tech down the stretch. That's why they came back from down 11. They took advantage of all the missed free throws, all the turnovers that they had. And Auburn did not do that. Auburn forced all these turnovers, but then either couldn't finish at the free throw line or, like you said, got outmatched by size. Auburn's the bigger team, and they got out-rebounded on the offensive boards a lot more than they should have, too. And that's sometimes what happens when you're just too talent-driven and just not as good with the fundamental size. And sometimes that's an issue of Bruce Pearl teams in the past. That's why they lost last year early. They lost 2 years ago against Miami. West picked that upset, I remember. That was one of his first times on Let's Parlay. And that's sometimes where Bruce Pearl has gotten the best of them.
Wes actually reached out to me on our group message and was making jokes. So I wonder what that New York kid is thinking right now that his Dukies got knocked out. And I pretty much said as as a joke, and he took it a little bit, offset. You saw what I said.
I saw that, yeah.
He took it a little bit serious, and I was like, listen, I'm not going to say what I said, but it was supposed to be a joke, and he took it a little too serious. But listen, I thought that Duke should have won that game against Houston. There was no reason why they should have lost that game. And again, Auburn had an 8-point lead with 12 minutes left of this of the second half, and then they just let Florida shoot the lights out of the ball. They could not stop Clayton. He was having this was like a college basketball player against a high school team. They could not stop him, no matter what he did. It was just absolutely fantastic to watch, and that's why I think this kid he might even be a top 5 pick. He might be.
He could elevate himself definitely because of the way he shoots the three, and that's the name of the game in the NBA now. And you look at a lot of these guys that have had these just amazing individual tournament runs, even teams that don't win national championships. Just a lot of them have come with these 40-point games because they're shooting all these threes, and now you're seeing it from a relatively new program. Todd Golden, again, I was skeptical of Florida because of the coaching and the lack of experience at the time. Todd Golden
still don't think they should be there.
No, because you're right. Definitely UConn could have beaten them, and then Texas Tech definitely could have beaten them.
Do you think UConn beats Auburn? If UConn went to the Final Four, do you think they beat Auburn?
It's tough to tell because UConn, I thought, was going to have trouble with Florida's size when they played, and they actually played very well. So I have to see the whole pace of the tournament, but it's definitely possible because UConn was actually countering that size very well when they did play Florida.
All right, so if UConn beat Auburn and they were matched up against Houston in the final championship game, do you think UConn wins back-to-back?
Probably at that point, the 3-peat. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, if they beat Florida, if Florida wins the national championship, the only team that can go out there and say, "Hey, we actually beat Florida and we didn't win the national championship," Danny Hurley's going to go out there and say, "Well, we beat Florida, so we should have won the national championship." Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, at that point, it might be a thing of destiny at this point.
I mean,
he'll definitely have something to say about it.
Of course he will. I know he's going to say something if Florida wins the national championship.
Either that or they'll end up losing by 2 points because they got a technical foul at the end of the game from yelling at the refs with something that would have happened in the Duke Houston game. But going back to Auburn though, Auburn's bigs got badly outmatched in that game. Both Broome and Dylan Caldwell in that game got badly outmatched. Broome only shooting 4 times that's unacceptable. I mean, some of that's on coaching, but also some of that's on him too. And they were driving the hoop kind of predictably, and that's the kind of thing you can't do against such a well-rounded team like Florida. But you're right, Clayton's been the best individual player in this tournament. That's really been the difference so far.
I don't know about the best individual player. I think it was Cooper Flagg, but
I don't think talent-wise. I'm talking about performance.
Not even performance, because who did Florida beat? I mean, who did they go through? I mean, Auburn was the best team they beat.
Oh, sure.
I mean, UConn they should have lost against. And I'm not saying Maryland wasn't good, but
and so was Texas Tech.
I did not think Texas Tech was as good as you thought they were.
Right, but I would say they're still probably better than Arizona and Baylor, whoever. Besides Alabama, the other teams that were being beaten by them.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, the argument is when you look at this tournament, all number 1 teams made it to the Final Four. All number 1 teams. And to me, when you look at and by the way, Fish, you're in the screen right now. The problem right now watching this national championship is it going to be one of the lowest watched national championships in the last 5 years, or mediocre? I don't know if anybody wanted to see Florida versus Houston. Everybody wanted to see Auburn versus Duke, or Florida versus Duke. Nobody wanted to see Houston there. And now Houston has a chance to win a national championship for the first time since when, Speedy? I don't even think
they've never won. They've actually never won. They've made
Florida
it twice. They made it twice when they had the Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson team.
I remember that. Yes.
They lost twice in the national championship, once against Michael Jordan in North Carolina, the other one against Georgetown.
Remember Clyde Drexler was a part of that team.
1982.
Mm-hmm.
They were showing a stat. They have the most Final Four appearances without a championship ever, with 6.
So when was the last time a senior guard went lottery? Because that's what this Walter Clayton Jr. is trying to accomplish right now. Because he wasn't even being talked about as a first-round pick before this tournament at all.
Who's the kid who played for UConn?
Shabazz Napier.
But
I don't think he was a lottery pick, though. I think he was a middle first round.
No, I think he was a lottery pick. I think I remember when LeBron James was so eager to draft him from Miami.
Yeah, what could that
be? And he felt he actually did play for Miami for a little bit. I don't even think Miami drafted him. Who drafted?
Charlotte Hornets. It was, he was 24th overall. Pick,
Okay.
So not a lottery pick, but
So
it was still a first round.
I
pick.
remember Shabazz Napier. I remember how good he was. Who was the other UConn player I always loved? Kemba Walker.
Yep.
Kemba, he was a senior.
Yeah, he was a lottery pick. I know that.
He was a senior. I remember
So
Kemba
that
Walker.
maybe that's the last guy, right?
That's
So
Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges was the
Mikal
last
Bridges.
guy
No,
in 2018.
Yeah, but I don't look at him as a guard. I looked at him
yeah.
as a wing.
Look,
That's
Bridges is a wing, I guess. But it's like a point guard like this. This is really fascinating. You can go back to, guys like Steph Curry coming out after his junior year, guys that played the game in a weird way that Clayton does, and it's a fun way to play the game. It's very, irregular. He just finds a way to get a little bit of space and takes a shot, and it goes in a lot.
School ball basketball. That's what
it's a lot of fun watching him. It's probably not as fun playing with him at times when guys play like that, kind of hogging the ball, but it works. And he's carried his team, games they shouldn't have won. If they win, it's because of him. Like, there's no doubt. It's amazing what he's done, and he's going to end up getting a career in the NBA. I think he's like a poor man's, like Jalen Brunson, a poor man's Jamal Murray type of guy, especially Murray, like running around and just like.
Well, you can't call him a poor man. We don't even know what he is in the NBA. We've seen guys.
Well, right now, currently,
Jalen Brunson was a second-round draft pick.
No, yeah, I'm saying today. I'm not saying like at the same age. I'm saying like today, how good Jalen Brunson is. Of course, the kid's not that good yet. Maybe he will be, right? Maybe that's the kid. Every once in a while we get a second-round pick like that. That does it. That does that, arc where they just get better and better and better and better. And you could see it in a tournament sometimes that a guy's going to be like this. I don't think we've seen a kid have a run like this in a tournament out of nowhere. Maybe since
hold on. Out of nowhere? I mean, this guy.
No, as far as unheralded, as far as a draft guy. Like, this is a senior guard.
Could you imagine if Rick Pitino actually got him in the portal? Could you imagine if St. John's had this kid, Clayton, on their they needed the offense. Yeah. They were a great defensive team going into the tournament. Probably you can argue they were the second or third best defensive team in this tournament, right behind Houston. And they didn't have any offense in this tournament. If they had Clayton, maybe they go to the Final Four and win the national championship. I mean, seriously, Florida, I mean, they're a good team. They're very well run, and they run a good offense. They're really not that great without Clayton. And Clayton, when he is sitting out, and there's certain games when he got into, I think, what was the game? It was Sweet 16 when he got into foul trouble. When he was sitting out a significant amount of time, they couldn't put the ball in the net.
Yeah, Maryland, a lot of the first half.
Right, so it was Maryland. Yeah. It was Maryland. He was sitting out. In the first half, they had problems putting the ball in the net. When he comes in, he opens up the court, he spreads the offense out, and then you could see what Florida could do. If Clayton gets into foul trouble in this game, you're going to see that they're going to be reaching, they're going to force shots, and they're going to have problems against Houston because Houston does one thing good. They cover the basket. They make you shoot the ball, and they challenge you when you shoot the ball on the perimeter. Look what they did against Duke. They made sure.
Let me give you his stats in this tournament. So 5 games played so far. 23, 5-2 in the 1-16 matchup. In the win versus UConn, obviously remember how it ended. 23-3-1. Was in foul trouble in that game. Not in foul trouble in the Maryland. It was the UConn game he was in foul trouble. The Maryland game didn't have a great game. 13, 1 rebound, 4 assists. And
that was the game he got into foul trouble.
He only had 2 fouls in that game, so maybe he had him quick in the first half.
Yeah, because they were only up by 1 at halftime of that game.
He didn't have a good game.
So he didn't have a good game. But then the last weekend, he was out of control. He had a combined, between the Elite 8 and the Final Four game, the last 2 games, he had a combined 64 points, 6 boards, and 6 assists with a couple of blocks. He shot, he's made 8 threes. Listen to this from the line. Here's the thing in the tournament. What do you shoot from the line? He's 20 of 21 in the last 2 games. So he's gotten to the line 21 times. Right?
He's made himself a lot of money. Let's put it that way.
Look, if you can shoot 90-something% from the line, you got a future in this league. And that's what people are going to find out right now. This guy will go in the first round.
You know who
he probably will go in the 20s.
You know who he reminds me of? He's a poor man, De'Aaron Fox. That's what he is. De'Aaron Fox didn't have a shot when he came out of Kentucky.
Fox is super fast.
Fox is way faster. Yeah,
He's super fast.
But Fox can go to the left and he can go to the right and he can go to the hole at will.
Yeah,
That's what this
sure.
kid could do. That's what this kid.
A mix between Damian Lillard and Steph Curry. Like that's his peak. Is like a mix of those guys.
I don't think he's any of those guys.
I like the Jamal Murray one I heard earlier today.
That's a good one.
I think Jamal Murray plays a lot like him. And around the same size too, like 6'3", something like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good comparison. I think watching Florida. I think watching Florida. If you watch the games, I for some reason have watched a lot of the Florida games. It's what they do in the second half that's pretty incredible. They're normally down by like 8-10 points going into the second half, and for some reason, the last 5 minutes of the game, they make every shot they look at. They get more boards than the other team, and they get to the foul line. Like where everybody else tightens up, like Duke tightened up in the last 5 minutes, Florida excels, and it's fun to watch. Like this game might be a 12-point game going into the second half. Houston will be winning, and Florida's going to go on a tear or run because of Clayton Jr. and what he brings. He can drive, he can kick, he can shoot, and like Fish just said, he can shoot foul shots. So watching them in the last 5 minutes has been a lot of fun to watch in this tournament, and that's why I picked them to win, is because even when they're down, they have a way to come back. And it's been fun to watch.
We both had Duke winning the national championship.
I did. I had Duke. I didn't think they would crumble, but I mean, I didn't get in on that take. It's
we had to go fast on that, and that's why.
No, you're fine. I think Duke's kids. I mean, especially Proctor. He struggled in that tournament.
Oh man, he really struggled.
And even Cooper Flagg in that last game, you said he had a great game. He shot under 50%. He shot under 50% from field goal percentage, and he was asked to do everything. And Proctor didn't show up, and the other guard that got hurt and smoked his head didn't show up, and he looked concussed the last 4 minutes, and he's the one trying to get the ball in, and he couldn't even see the court probably because he had a concussion. So
another thing that looked bad on John Shire's part, if you're having him inbound the ball.
Right. But I think the young age of that team compared to the older guys at Houston really showed. They looked frantic. They looked like they didn't know what to do. They were just trying to get the ball to Knuppel or to what's his name? Cooper Flagg. And they look scared. If you saw their eyes, they look scared in the last 4 minutes.
Everybody says Proctor didn't have a good game. Okay. And I'll tell you what he did well. He's a guard, and he's not gonna score a lot of points. If one guy, what happened? What'd you say?
Turn the ball over.
A lot of guys turn the ball. I mean, Houston turned the ball a lot in that game too. Houston
but he choked in the big moments. Proctor.
Yeah,
a lot of them did.
He missed free throws, turned the ball
specifically.
Over.
He did though,
and he shot 2 for 7 from the field.
Not almost Nick Anderson levels of choking.
Here's what I'm going to say about Proctor. If Knuppel has a good game and Flagg has a good game, Proctor's going to be left out. All three of them are not going to have great scoring games. It just hasn't happened in this tournament. And really, Knuppel's been that second-tier player. Proctor, after the first 2 games, has been, he's been an outcast to the team. He did other things, but obviously in the second half of the game, he made mistakes. But that has something to do with coaching. I'm sorry.
I wanted, because I didn't get in on the story too, but just to say it real quick, that the defense that Duke played with a lead, trying to close out that game it's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. That is what Shire did terribly. They played some of the worst lazy defense. There's no way they should have had easy shots at 3.
And an offensive rebound.
At that point, they're letting all these offensive rebounds go. I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they were closing out. Like Cooper Flagg, you saw on the one that they made it a 1-possession game. He just runs by him with some lazy ass defense. And that's not because it's Cooper Flagg's fault. Well, that's I'm gonna get to that in a second. That's Proctor to me. Like, if you guys don't have a point guard like a Walter,
he was doing that in the Alabama game, and Proctor was playing decent.
Well, they were playing better defense on him in this game, obviously, right? And if you don't have a guy that can dribble up against a real good press, that's a problem, and make the right decision. Not just dribble up, but make the right decision.
Yeah,
they were breaking the trap. Look, they have great players. They broke the trap. You saw Knuppel get through that crazy trap. He somehow did and got the ball to Proctor, and then he choked the 2 foul shots. That's what happened. They should have won that game 90 times out of 100, they say. They were actually like a 92% favorite to win that game with 35 seconds left, according to whatever stat.
Whatever that
Pretty wild stuff. That they're not even in this game. It's amazing that they're not in this game.
I'm not blaming Proctor in the game. Everybody wants to. They're young kids, like Jabba said. They're young kids, and if you know they're young kids, why are you calling early timeouts in the second half and giving you no timeouts with the last 2 minutes of the game? You had nothing, and you put your team in a position where you had a 9-point lead, and then you gave up a 3 with 50 seconds left, and you still had a very good chance of winning the game, where Houston was the only ones that had 2 timeouts, and you're put in a position where you're not putting your team in the right places to get the right guy on the line. If Flag was on the line or any of their top Knuble was on the line, they win the game. Proctor, obviously,
they got to the line. That's not coaching.
I'm sorry.
They got to the line. And Proctor is probably. I don't know what his free throw percentage was all year, but I bet he's about an 80% free throw shooter.
No, Proctor wasn't as good.
Proctor was not a good free throw shooter.
Like
he wasn't a good free throw shooter. Knuble and Flag.
They're gonna double Knuble and Flag. And if Proctor's the guy open, he has to go up there and hit the foul shots. That's not coaching. That's just simple basketball. He's a guard.
First of all,
to me, it was just the irresponsible defense. When you have a lead like that, just playing some lazy basketball. Teams that are well coached don't play like that. They just don't.
When you're inbounding the ball the way they were, lackadaisical, and they were doing it, and they were letting Flag pass the ball in. It made no sense. They did it against the Alabama Crimson Tide too. That Cooper Flag was passing the ball in. I didn't get that either. He's your best player. He's your best option. And by the way, he goes to the basket at will. If he gets the ball, even double team, they're calling a foul on whoever's going to touch him because he's a superstar. He goes to the line. They win the game.
Isn't he the last guy that should be inbounding the ball? You either run a play for him or use the decoy. He can't be throwing the ball in.
Made no sense.
What are you doing?
It's
one of those two things. He can't be the guy inbounding it. I mean, look, I've coached a little bit of very low level basketball. Even I know that. When it's at the end of the game, you got a really good player. It's either that or the second best kid with the other kid as a decoy. It's that simple. That's not a hard one.
Their 2 best free throw shooters were Knuble and Flag. They should have had the ball with the last 30 seconds. I would bet that they hit one of those shots, they win that game. Even one of those shots, they win the game. It was just bad coaching. And that's what I'm saying. And then at the end of the game with 17 seconds left, after Houston called the timeout, you knew Shire was going to Flag. Why? Because as soon as Flag came to the sidelines, it was right on him. You good? You good? We got you. They know he's getting the ball. So why don't you draw up a decoy? Get him to go, double team, pitch it to the 3-point line, and get Knuble open so he can hit open free. They win the game. It was or tie the game and take it to overtime. It was embarrassing, the play calling by Shire. Shire was just out there. I don't know what he was. He was he was out in the audience. He wasn't even coaching. I have no idea what he was doing. And everybody keeps saying, why Coach K's at the game? Why don't they have the cameras on him? Who the hell cares? He's not the coach.
He can't coach them.
Why is Coach K? Why do I want to see Coach K?
What is he going to coach from the stands?
I don't get it. No,
that's for cheating, if that's the case.
I don't want to see Coach K. He picked the wrong guy to coach this team. I'm sorry. And everybody wanted to hear this. Here's the truth. I told you guys, one way or another, this guy's going to find a way to screw it up. And what did he do? He screwed up the worst possible game in the worst possible position for a team that hasn't won a championship in over 10 years. Embarrassing. It was an embarrassing fashion. And for anybody to come out and say that he's not on the hot seat next year, if this happens again and they fall short with their recruiting class coming in, I'm telling you right now, he should be fired. It's just pathetic. And I don't want to hear it from the Duke Blue Devil fans on our reel they're going to hear this. They're going to hear this. This guy should not be the coach of the Duke Blue Devils. You heard it here. He is not the right guy. He was never the right guy. And I told you guys this from the day he was brought in. He's not the right guy. That's it. Anybody could have brought this recruiting class in. Coach K was the one that recruited him. Stop with this Coach Shire got flagged here. No, It was
No.
Coach K making a phone call and saying, go to Duke. You have a better chance of winning a national championship. That's why Flag went there. That's why the Boozer boys are going there. Not because of Shire, because of Coach K. So stop with this crap, Duke fans. That I'm wearing a Flag jersey right now because I love the kid. I'm happy for the kid. He's going to be the number 1 pick. But I got news for all you Duke fans. If this guy is your coach next year, they're not winning a national championship. They're never going to win a national championship with this man. You heard it from me. Never.
Well, what if he learns from it, though, Errol? Like, this is obviously the humble pie moment that you have to have as a coach. It's like sometimes, I don't know if you've had this moment, Jabba, like when you're playing and maybe the first time you got to like the next level of something and all of a sudden, like you were doing well and all of a sudden something happened. Before you knew it, you were just like, you got hammered and like it's over. It's like, what just happened?
Yeah, I mean, it sometimes it happens fast too, and in the moment it's tough, and I mean that's where it does come down to coaching a little bit, especially when we get like a mound visit or something like that to where they can, kind of what we touched on earlier with the coaching and how Kelvin Sampson called the timeout, and then they knew exactly what was going to happen, and it was weird to see that Kelvin Sampson's the oldest coach to be in a national championship game at 69. And that's a 30-year age gap between Golden and Sampson. It's the second most all time in a championship game. But yeah, that's just, I think hopefully it does. For Duke fans, you hope he learns. But if he doesn't, it's tough because really, what are you going to do? Like,
he's not Danny Hurley. He's not Danny Hurley. I'm just telling you. He's not Bobby Hurley. Bobby Hurley was the right guy. I don't care. Everybody's going to say Bobby Hurley hasn't won anything. If Bobby Hurley was coaching this team, he comes from a good brand of basketball. His background with his father, now his brother went to UConn, and look at what he's doing right now on a very good recruiting, school. I mean, Arizona, what was he coaching?
Arizona State.
Arizona State is not a good recruiting school. You put Bobby Hurley in Duke or North Carolina, he will never coach North Carolina. But, if he goes to Duke or anybody else that is an SEC, ACC team, I guarantee you he is a better coach than this man. This was a bad signing by the Duke Blue Devils. Bad pick for Coach K, who I really respect. Greatest coach. I mean, you can argue the top 3 greatest basketball coaches in the NBA and the NCAA. You can argue that. The guy's never lost in the Olympics. Never. He's never lost the Olympics. Whenever he was coaching any of those Olympic teams, he's won gold. What was it? 3 times? It was 2 or 3 times.
3 times. They had the 1 year that they didn't with 04, but that was that. And then
he wasn't coaching that team.
Oh, he wasn't. Okay.
He wasn't coaching that team.
3 for
he did not coach that team.
Okay.
That was Greg Popovich.
Okay.
He was the coach. He was the assistant. He was the assistant to Greg Popovich. So. And I remember that. It was Greg Popovich. It was Tim Duncan. It was Kevin Garnett on that team. Stephon Marbury. I remember that. Starbury. Allen Iverson was on that team. It didn't work. I think Dwight Howard.
I started thinking about when Coach K lost that first time he got there. Right? Obviously, he got to the championship game against that great UNLV team with Larry Johnson back in 1990, right? And they got right back the next year, but obviously it's very different back then. The guys were kept over from year to year. That was a killer roster, obviously, that those early Duke teams that Coach K had. We get the Boozer brothers though next year.
Yeah.
Right? And they're supposed to be top 10 guys coming into from high school.
Top 3. One of them. Yeah, both of them. One of them is the number 1.
That's Cam, I think.
Yeah, the 6'8" kid, and then the 6'2" point guard is the 3rd best player coming out of high school. So these guys are
like, look, they got a great shot at getting back there. Will he learn? Because he has the stacked roster. Obviously, it's not going to stay like that forever. Coach K's influence probably will wane over time, and we'll be able to do it. I know Bobby Hurley's probably chomping at the bit for that job to open up. I know I would be if I was Bobby Hurley,
I'm so pissed off that he didn't pick.
I'm still confused on, like, I get you guys are saying coaching, but like obviously the game plan was to shut down Cooper Flag and Knuppel. So any coach is going to give it to the third guy that's on their team, and that was Proctor. And he needs to step up and make the free throws. You can't double team both those guys and get it out of their hands. And Proctor's going to be open, and him turn the ball over, miss free throws, and make mistakes at the end of the game. Any coach is going to give it to the open guy if their best players are double teamed.
It was
That's
also
how they're going to draw it up.
They had a trap on that one that they got the technical foul on, and then they got the one that almost was a 5-second violation. And you have to know they're going to play aggressive.
And why did you spread those guys out on the perimeter? Why was Cooper Flag, every time they inbound, Cooper Flag and Knuppel were right next to each other. They were standing within 5-6 feet from one another. Why didn't you spread it out? I don't get it. It's coaching. It's absolutely coaching. I'm sorry. I don't know if the players made some mistakes. You want to, and like Joba said, they're kids. You can't expect them to. Yeah, but guess what? You're the coach. You're making all that money. You were picked. You were handpicked by Coach K, and you screw up. You have a 14-point lead with 4 minutes left of the game, and you choke. You choke to go to a national championship where you're evenly matched against any one of these teams. It's really. I think they run right through Florida. Florida's getting their butts whipped. Well, they just had a 3. They just were down 5 and they just came back. So what we have the game on. So I mean, it's 21-21 as far as our television.
And my point was more that a team that like Florida that has Clayton Jr. They have a guy that's going to dribble the ball up. He's going to control the ball. He's going to break that press, and it's not going to be like he gets himself into trouble in the same way that if you have a bunch of forwards where you're passing the ball around, you still have to break the 2-on-1, which they did but they ended up having to get it to Proctor, which is fine. You know, the team is just constructed that way.
But if you
my issues were earlier in the the game.
Florida, you watch them in the Final Four. The guy that was making the free throws was number 10, not Proctor. Number 10 was to the free throw line every time because they doubled Proctor. They made him get rid of the ball to a guy that's not as good as Proctor, and he made the free throws. So, like, at the end of the game, like, you have to get – yeah, so you got to give it to whoever is the open guy and is the guard.
And they have another really good guy that can shoot.
And
just having that guy that can like attract the defense as opposed to like you don't know where the trap is coming from. Like the trap is going to Clayton. You know that's what's happening. But you don't know like where it's going to strike when you have it the other way around. I think it's a little bit tougher.
Here's my concern is if you're talking about Shire, I just looked up Proctor and has he been at Duke his full career? Do you guys know if Proctor been at Duke his full career?
At least the last 3 years. I'm not sure where he was.
He started out shooting 88% from the free throw line. Last year, 75%, and this year, 69%. So developmental wise, what's going on there?
Let me ask you a question. What position did Shire play?
Point guard.
He was a guard. Okay. And Proctor has been with Shire for 3 years.
That's my concern about the coaching, not what happened in the game. It's developmental. Like that guy should be able to go up and make some plays. He's a third-year guard at Duke. He should be able to dribble the ball down the court. Should be able to make his free throws. If he started out at 89%, how do you go 89% as a freshman down to 69%? Where's the development happening because they're all one-and-done guys at Duke. So they're the guys that they have to develop. Where are those coming from? And like that's a scary stat for like development in the program. Well, if that guy's getting significantly worse.
Another reason not to trust John Shire.
Again, we're going to go to Goody's bag of balls, but before that, I just want to finish up here. Again, I agree with everything that you said, Owen. I think you're absolutely right. The growth of some of these point guards and the guard play throughout the season this year has been worse. But here's the problem. If you look at that game, I'm not going to point and say this is Proctor's fault. I'm not going to blame it on any of the players. When you know you're up by 9 points with, a minute and 10 seconds left, and make them earn their points. Why are these guys open at the three-point line? The first thing I'm doing is telling you, guard, double team at the right. That's what I'm doing. Guard. Do not let them shoot the three. Let them earn every single point. What did he do? What did they do? They left them open at the three-point line every single time. It was so lackadaisical. That is coaching. It is 100% coaching. That's all I'm going to say. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Goody's bag of balls.
My mom is going to wire a car battery on my testicles.
Trying to put Tiger Bomb on this jungle's nuts.
That's how you become great, man. Hang your balls out there.
Man, that was a heated moment there. Your blood pressure, you need to check it. I think this is one of those times where you need to check it.
I'm good. I'm good right now.
Goodness,
I'm
you look
good.
like you're sweating. You need
No,
to.
I'm not. I haven't sweat yet. We have the window open. That's why. It's nice. It's nice. We got a nice breeze in here until the summer comes around. Then I'm really screwed because you couldn't put an AC right now in studio with condensing mics. It'll make so much sound. So we got to get used to this right now before it gets really warm in the studio.
Yeah, I mean, I spent some time in Long Island. I know what it's about. Speaking of Long Island, I just watched the show Gone Girls or something like that on Netflix about the murders that were on the Long Island. You remember that?
Gone Girls, yes. Everybody knows the Gilgo Beach killer, and he was caught. And actually, one of my friends is he's a correctional officer, and he actually was one of the guys. Every other week, he actually has a night where he's sitting there watching if he's going to hang himself or kill himself. So they're like really, really watching him because now he's been accused of, I think, 8 girls. I think it's 8 women right now, and they're still trying to get him for the other 4. And he was killing in Philadelphia too, and other states. They don't even know how many. I mean, what we're trying to do is trying to figure out. There's a GPS in his car and figure out where he was traveling to and figure out what he was doing, because there has been witnesses that he was at strip clubs in Philadelphia, quite a few of them. So I don't know. This guy's been killing for years, and he's been doing his naughty things. So that's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. It took me like 3 whole days to watch that 3-episode deal, but it was pretty wild. It's pretty wild.
They're an hour an episode. It's 3 hours.
Yeah, dude, but I got 2 kids. I'm tired at night.
Yeah, the kids watch it.
The kids aren't watching that one.
This is what you don't do.
Yeah. We put them into bed real quick before we did that. But
you kidding me? Jabba probably, if his son was an infant, he'd have him on his lap. Okay, Carter, I'm gonna teach you something.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of this is kind of directed towards Jabba, but prior to speaking of LA Dodgers and Washington, the game just finished over. Dodgers dropped their 3rd game of the year, 6-4, and they had Dustin May going. Ohtani was 1 for 11 with 5 strikeouts in his last 3 games, and tonight he put up 3 hits and had a homer. But prior to the game, they went to the White House and did their ceremonial thing there. I wanted to ask Jabba, what was it like going to the White House when y'all won the World Series, and who was the president at the time, and what were the vibes like?
It was weird. It was Obama, and it was crazy. We're walking through the Rose Garden. I'll never forget it. And so, like, you're walking through the Rose Garden, and then you get to like the Oval Office and all the other stuff, and then where we were going. But his daughters ran out. And there were people that popped out of the ground, had no idea, because they pushed us back inside because they were going to the playground set, and so they just took off, and so we're outside gonna walk in, and literally they ran out, and all of a sudden there were people everywhere, had no idea where they came from. We're just walking, we're talking, doing whatever. And literally, it was like somebody that came out of the bushes, somebody. Now the door opens automatically, and they're like, "You have to be inside. You have to be inside." Something I'll never forget. It was like, where did you guys come from?
The Secret Service. Did they give you a tour of the White House? Did you get an actual tour? Did you get to go to the Lincoln Room and all that?
Yep. So everywhere, only place obviously not the housing quarters. You got to see the entrance, where where he walks down the hallway when he comes down from the quarters. So yeah, we got to see all the rooms. We got to see everything where they do, where he stands. I actually have a picture in front of the stand with the White House insignia in the back. Wow. But yeah, that's something I'll never forget when they just, obviously it's their home. They ran outside, and then all of a sudden dudes just pop out of nowhere. And I was like, what just happened? Next thing you know, we're inside, and there's 30 people around us. Wait, I was like, oh, all right, well, let me go in here.
Sheesh.
I did steal a napkin.
Oh God, stealing napkin.
They have White House insignias in the bathrooms.
Oh, that's right.
And so doing soap and magnets and everything.
Why not?
Did he feed you?
They did not.
Oh, that's weak, man.
But it's crazy because, like, when you're walking in, like, we get in, you're just, I mean, there's snipers everywhere. Like, it's
snipers.
Well, and my dad was in the prison for 30 years. So, like, I've obviously seen, like, some of this stuff, but it was literally like you just walk and there'd be like one up here, there's one over here, there's like one in a tree. It was crazy.
Goodness, that's one place. So we played in Washington in 2019. That was one place I wanted to visit. Never got a chance to visit, and I mean, you watch it on all the shows and everything, and I wondered if it looked the same as they have it in the shows, and what the experience of what was like with Obama administration in there, and if you got food, was the food top notch?
Yeah,
no, apparently they cheaped out on the food.
It was exactly right, and then. But each president gets to pick like own things. So he had a basketball court, and then he switched. There was whoever's before Obama had a bowling alley. He switched it to a movie theater.
Damn, that is tight. That is tight. Well, moving right along, I know we're going to be covering Vlad Jr.'s long extension here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, really, really. Lucrative extension here, so I won't dive deep into that. But who would have thought the Red Sox would be 6-4 coming out of the AL East, killing it right now? In Boston, just speaking, no, dude, we had the Yankees. Yankees are top.
I had the Yankees in Boston as my 1 and 2.
Is that it?
Yeah,
I think we had the Orioles, but Boston
didn't.
scored 47 runs with batting .356 as a team in the last 5-game winning streak. But right now they're losing to Toronto 6-2. The biggest topic here is Rafael Devers, who was 0 for 19 to start the year with 15 punch-outs, but now he's 10 for 19, batting .526 with 4 extra base hits and 7 RBIs in April. And I think
he's only struck out twice.
Yes, and I think he is the key to get the offense going. Obviously, Bregman's hitting. Bregman's killing it. He's been 9 for 18 hit 500 with 2 homers, but. I think once he settles down, I know we bashed him a little bit early, a couple episodes here and there, but I think once he settles into his role as a designated hitter, he's going to carry that offense. And then the biggest question mark for Boston is going to be their pitching staff. Right now, it's not looking too good. 6-2 in the 9th with a lot of runs given up. But
the Blue Jays are playing. They're playing pretty good baseball too.
They're playing 500. They're 5-5, but they look decent. Their pitching is.
A 500 team. Did you? I didn't think they were going to be 500.
Well, not for the first 10 games, but I mean, it's still early. I mean, Cleveland is taking a beating right now, but it's still early, right? But it is a nice surprise. It is nice to see Boston. Hopefully we'll get the rivalry with New York back up again to where it should be. But
I do not think it's a surprise that Boston is the second best team right now in the American League East. I think they're the best. I think that look at that roster. If Devers and Bregman stays healthy, I think they have a good 1-2 punch. They have a lot of good secondary hitters in their lineup, and they might not have the pitching, but obviously as the season progressively moves forward, if they need to spend some money or make a trade at the trade deadline, they'll make the trade that they need to get them over the hump. I think Boston, I know Fish was not too excited about what they brought in the offseason. I know Joba and you thought that the Orioles are the second best team in the American League East. I know it's early, but I think this is going to continue to move forward. I didn't like Baltimore this year. So I think Boston is the second best team in the American League East.
I mean, they're certainly playing like it right now. I mean, they just lost to Toronto, but prior to that, they're playing pretty good baseball. They have some question marks though with Tristan Casas. I mean, I think he's hitting like 120 something. So if they can figure out what they're going to do with him,
the Mets, they're winning.
Yeah.
Ford's hitting 132, and you have Soto. I think he's hitting 200 or something like that.
Yeah, but he's gotten hot as recent. He's been playing better recently.
I know that's why he's hitting 200. He was hitting like 156.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I got is who I pinned to be the National League winner here, the Reds at 3-7 with the Tito steering the ship there versus the Giants, who that's another great surprise. We didn't know they're 8-1. Tonight they have the first of a 3-game series. It's in San Francisco, and these clubs seem to be trending in 2 different directions. As you know, the first week of the season, the Giants haven't lost since a defeat 9 days ago in Cincinnati. and they're looking to win their first 9 to 10 games for the second time since the club moved to California. The only other Giants team to start 9-1 was a 2003 Giants team, and they won 100 win. They were a 100-win season. What were the win totals for the Giants that we pulled up a couple weeks ago? Do you remember? Where were they slated? 70 something, right?
Yeah, it was like 70 and a half, I think.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The only thing with the Reds, I know they're young. I know, Tito will get it going, but they're just like a hot and cold team right now. So, and they only have a couple players that have an OPS over 100, and one of them was a former Yankee. And I don't know. This matchup tonight I think is going to be really good. It's basically the same matchup as the opening day, but I think it's going to be a good matchup, man. And I think Cincinnati will be able to turn it around. I think they're just a young team, and I think that they will they'll make some waves. Tito will get the shit going in the right.
Beaten so far? Who are they beaten? They beat nobody. They have beaten nobody when they start.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they've played.
I know it's who you played them.
They've won.
They've won. They've played nobody.
I mean, they did beat the Astros.
The Astros. Oh man.
I mean, they played Houston, Seattle, and now they have Cincinnati. And Seattle's pretty decent.
They start off very slow, Seattle. They do.
Yeah, they have a good squad, dude.
They are, but they're a second half team. Last year, remember Speedy last year? It was the second half that really changed everything.
Yeah, and I remember my 2023 Mariners that I picked as my AL World Series.
They're never a good first month team. None of either are the Astros. Last year, remember how when they started?
Yeah.
I think they lost 12, 13 games. They were 2-13 or something like that. So I think both teams are, as the season moves forward, I think both teams are going to be really, really good. I don't know if I believe in the Giants. I don't know. We'll have to see. I like Buster Posey.
Well, who do you have tonight then? The Giants or San Francisco going on the opening day matchup? Hunter Green and Logan Webb.
Cincinnati. You mean Cincinnati? I have Cincinnati tonight. I have Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati night with Hunter Green going?
Yes, I have Cincinnati.
Or Logan Webb.
And I think Cincinnati wins this series against San Francisco.
I got that.
I'm
on board with that.
I will say the Giants, though, that the Willie Adames pickup was big for them.
Oh, yeah. He's killing it, dude.
He's
great. Absolutely, really good.
Even though Errol can't pronounce his name half the time.
No, I can't. And don't ask. Don't ask.
How about for the just going off? But Ellie De La Cruz is 3 for 24 with no homers and 7 strikeouts since he's had a 4-hit, 2-homer game against the Rangers. If you're going to win, you're going to need Ellie De La Cruz going.
Yeah, he's
the heart and soul of the team. But the other guy I wanted to mention was Heliot Ramos. I never even heard of this dude.
Was it All-Star?
Didn't even know who this guy was, but he's hit safely in 9 of the 10 game. I mean, these guys are I didn't know he was an All-Star. I didn't even know who. I'm reading through my notes, and I'm like, Heliot Olive. Who is this guy?
Brandon Nimmo not getting in, and he was one of them, and Jackson Merrill was the other. That were how are these guys getting in? I mean, Merrill's understandable. He was on Rookie of the Year candidates, and then Ramos was the other one that broke out of nowhere.
It's insane. See, the NL, I'm just not. I guess I need to dive a little deeper into the NL.
Don't worry, you'll know all the research when Cleveland plays the Giants.
The better teams are in the National League. I mean, obviously. If you look out, I think the better teams are in the National League. I do. I mean, if you look at obviously everybody expects the Yankees just to run away with the American League. As the season moves forward, everybody thinks they're going to run away. I don't see anybody right now besides the Texas Rangers who are actually playing pretty good baseball, which we predicted they were going to have.
Goody's squad.
Yeah. So I do. And we spoke to what's his name again at the Super Bowl, who loved him. Who was the kid that we were talking to?
Oh, Cade. Yeah.
Cade.
Cade Kistner.
He loved the Texas Rangers this year. So with the pitching that they have and the roster that they have, they've been very impressive. But could they keep it up? And could they stay healthy? And is Jacob deGrom going to stay healthy for a whole season? He hasn't. I mean, how long has it taken him to get back on the mound? 2 years?
Mm-hmm. And then he got hurt a month after he came back.
Yeah, the better teams are in the National League. Go look at the National League. It's so much better. It's not even close. Yeah. I mean, how could you argue it? They are. They're better teams. The Dodgers, the Padres, Philadelphia, the Braves. I mean, the Mets.
Diamondbacks are good too.
The Diamondbacks, San Francisco
They're-
right now. It's just a better-
Diamondbacks aren't playing best right now, but Corbin Carroll is playing at an MVP caliber right now.
And they got good pitching. So
just so much better, man. They're just so
They
much
do have
better.
good pitching.
And by the way, Kyle Tucker is playing out of his mind right now. That guy's
Kyle
going to get
Tucker's
himself.
ridiculous.
That guy's going to get a lot of money next year, and it's not going to be from the Cubs. I
That's
expect.
that's the one we talked about when we talked about, like, do you bet on yourself for the year
Yes.
and see what happens, or do you take? And obviously Kyle's a little bit older, anyways, but yeah, I think it's huge. Like when guys go out and do that, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Like like we've seen with some guys, but other times it's like, yep, I'm just going to go bet on myself and go ball out. And next thing you know, put 400, 500 schmills in the bank account.
Yep.
You always got to bet on yourself, dude. If you don't bet on yourself or believe in yourself, then nobody else is going to do it. No, nobody else is going to believe in there for you.
Yeah, I mean, and especially at his age, you look at a guy like Campbell, the 21-year-old from Boston. Like, yeah, give me my 60. I'll be a free agent when I'm 29. Like, yeah, perfect. I can still go, and make crazy amounts of money after that. But yet I'm set and I can just go out and ball out. He's little though.
I don't care if you have a trans either.
Yeah.
So,
I like Kyle Tucker. I think Kyle Tucker, I mean, he could have been great in New York. I mean, he's going to be great wherever he goes. But like a short porch in New York or a short porch at Fenway, like, dude, he's going to be, I mean, I think, you put a ball player anywhere, he's going to ball out. So I like it.
He's the guy that I think the Yankees are going to be gunning for in the offseason. They were trying to trade for him with the Astros. The Astros were never trading with the Yankees, and that's why he's a Cubby. I absolutely believe that the Yankees are going to go absolutely after. A lot of teams are going to go after him. I don't know
Who do you move from the outfield, New York? For Kyle Tucker?
No, I mean Dominguez. I think that's the guy. I don't think he can play the outfield. They're either going to
trade him.
They either trade him or he's a bona fide DH after Giancarlo Stanton. Maybe they buy him out because Giancarlo Stanton's not making a lot of money. You buy him out and let him go to free agency and let him go wherever he wants. Maybe it's to the Dodgers because he's always wanted to be a Dodger. His favorite team growing up were the Dodgers, and that's where he's from, the LA area. So, I mean, Giancarlo Stanton could go over there. So, it's a decision that the Yankees are going to have to make, but I think Kyle Tucker is going. The Yankees are definitely interested in Kyle Tucker when he becomes a free agent. I don't think he's making $500 million like Joba said. I'm sorry.
I don't think he'll make $500 million, but he'll definitely put some M's in the bank account.
I think he makes $250. I mean, how old is he? 30 years old? I think he's going to be 30 this year, if I'm not mistaken.
He's 28.
Yeah, so he'll be 29. So I think he gets a 6 to 7 year deal wherever he goes, and I could see the Yankees doing that. Remember, Cashman said he doesn't want to go over 10 years. I don't think Kyle Tucker will get 10 years, but I think he gets 6 to 7 years from the Yankees. I could see the Yankees doing that. He would be perfect in Yankee Stadium the way he hits the ball. So I think
he plays a great defense as well. So
yeah.
I mean, he's the baller, dude. He's a baseball player through and through. So you're getting a win. It's a win-win regardless.
Speaking of contracts, Ken Rosenthal reports that the Blue Jays have signed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to a 14-year, $500 million contract. The deal is the third largest in Major League history, only behind Shohei Ohtani and the one and only Juan Soto. Vlad's contract practically doubled the biggest contract given to a first baseman, which was 8 years, $248 million deal to the Tigers, giving Miguel Cabrera. The deal also has no deferred money, and it has a full no trade clause. Vladimir Guerrero mentioned that because he grew up in Canada, that he always wanted to stay with the Blue Jays. Yeah, right. But couldn't find a market value that worked for him. Guerrero hit .323 with 30 home runs and 93 RBIs last season. Guerrero has a .287 batting average and 861 OPS, 160 home runs, and 511 RBIs in 7 MLB seasons. Vladimir Guerrero is a great young player. There's no question. He's 26 years old. He's growing into his body. He's definitely growing into his body. I don't know if he's a bona fide first baseman after he hits the age of 30. You gave him a $15 million deal, and he's a bona fide DH. And we've seen this before. Remember Cecil Fielder's son, Prince
yeah.
Fielder. Prince was a first baseman, and he was a great home run hitter. He was an MVP. And then all of a sudden, after he hit the age 28, 29, he got a little heavy. Then he eventually got pulled off of first base. He was a DH. Really, he was playing first base because there was no DH in the National League. But really, it wasn't a good first baseman. He was a bona fide DH. So I just think that what you see with Vladimir Guerrero, he's a sensational hitter. The guy sees the ball and he hits the ball. He hits for average. He hits for power. His on-base percentage is ridiculous. He's a sensational player. How many players right now in a major leagues can hit for power and hit for average the way he can? I mean, we've seen one with the Yankees and now as a Met, Juan Soto. I mean, Aaron Judge. There are not many guys, Shohei Ohtani, not many guys that can do what Vladimir Guerrero does. And I wasn't surprised that the Blue Jays had to get this deal done before the trade deadline, because if they waited to the trade deadline, he would have said, I'm not signing. I'm going to free agency and I'm going to go play for the Mets, because that's where he was going. I don't care what anybody says. The Mets were booking that. They were actually gunning that. And now the Mets look bad because they could have went out and definitely went after Juan Soto and given Max Fried a contract, get their number one pitcher. And now going into next year's offseason, there are not many good pitchers that are going to be available like there were this offseason. And the Mets are going to fall short on going to get a superstar player to play with Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor. Now they got to pay Pete Alonso. If Pete Alonso has a good season, they're going to have to give him what he wants, which is between $250 million and $280 million, because if they don't, he's going to go to free agency, and then the Mets strike out on him. So the Mets, this looks really, really bad for the Mets. As much as they got their guy in Juan Soto, they were booking that they were getting Vladimir Guerrero because Juan Soto and Lindor are very close with him. And he kind of just went right under and said, you know what, I want to stay in Canada. I grew up in Canada. That's where I want to go. The only reason why he's staying in Canada because he got 15 years. There was no way any other baseball team, including the Mets, was going to give this guy $15 million. He did lose a little bit of weight this offseason. He looks pretty good. But we've seen it. CC Sabathia, remember him? Remember when he lost all that weight in the offseason? And then as the season moved forward, he started eating, started traveling, 5-star hotels, eating whatever he wants, eating his cereal, his Captain Crunch, and he gained that 25 pounds back from the offseason. We've seen this before. So I'm not going to bet that he's going to stay at this weight that he lost. I think they said he lost like 20 pounds in the offseason. I think this is a bad signing. I really do.
I mean, it's age 40 we've seen what happened to Pujols when he got that, and it was either like 40 or 41 with the Angels.
But you're paying for his prime years.
Yeah,
right. Paying for his prime years. So like you're gonna take it on the chin later. But real quick, did you know that this deal is actually more lucrative than Shohei Ohtani's deal? Just based on present value?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Shohei Ohtani's deal is $460 million based on present. This is $500, so he's actually getting paid more, which is absurd because Shohei does it all. I just had this talk earlier. Is like you're paying for their prime years. Like that's why you're going to take it on the chin later.
Why do you make it 14 though?
Because it's probably what he was asking for, and he probably wouldn't budge off of a massive contract like that.
That's what happens when the Blue Jays drove a toxic late into the ground. Maybe they had no choice.
Exactly. And who's his agent? I'm assuming it's Scott Boras, right? Like it's probably Boras, which who I would assume. And he's going out for the longest, most lucrative deal that there is. And he wanted to stay with the Blue Jays, and he probably said, "Listen, this is what I want. I want $500 million, whatever. And I'm not budging. If you don't get this deal done, then like Errol said, come All-Star break, I'm not signing, and I'll see what I can get on the open market."
Just think,
Magnus Sports.
Just think about this, guys. Think about this. Aaron Judge signed an 8-year deal with the Yankees worth about $360. He's by far the best player right now in baseball. And I wanted to bring up these numbers so you guys understand how special Aaron Judge and the numbers that he is putting up. And I was looking at it this weekend, and people were posting up some crazy numbers. Just think about this, okay? I want you guys to look at this.
He's ridiculous.
The Yankees, Aaron Judge, in 7 games in 2025 on Saturday, he has 17 RBIs, 12 runs, 6 home runs, 3 doubles, and 2 stolen bases. No other MLB player has put up all those numbers in a 7-game span since the RBI era in 1920. Just think about that. It's ridiculous. How about this? It's since 2022. Aaron Judge has 162 home runs, first in all of the major leagues. RBIs, 365, first in the major leagues. On-base percentage, 434, first in the major leagues. Slugging percentage, 682, first in the major leagues. OPS, 208, first in the major leagues. And FWAR, 27.8, first in the major leagues. Okay. And that goes to this, guys. And I want to say something. Somebody, and I'm not going to mention names. And if you know anything about what writers are writing and how pathetic they are, some writer actually wrote a story recently this past week that said that he would take Mookie Betts over Aaron Judge right now. All right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You were saying about this. Yeah.
Yes,
it's crazy.
That he would take Mookie Betts right now over Aaron Judge. They would, in his order was Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Witt Jr., and then Aaron Judge as the number 4 guy. Okay. And I thought it was incredibly stupid that he said that, because somebody wrote a story, Jabba, and came out and just dropped the hammer on this guy and was putting out numbers and saying Mookie Betts hasn't been healthy in 2 years, and you're going to take him over a guy for the last 2 years has putting up numbers that nobody's ever put up. That's including Babe Ruth. Think about it. He's on pace right now. Listen to this. And this is another number that I wanted you to home runs in their first 999 career MLB games. Aaron Judge has 320. The other one right behind him, Ryan Howard, 279. Ralph Kinner, 277. Kilbrew, 272. Giancarlo Stanton, 270. Gonzalez, 269. And Albert Pujols, 266. Just think about that. That's ridiculous. And somebody had the audacity to put him as his number 4 hitter, number 4 player that he would take. He took 3 players over him out of all the great players right now in the major league. I think he's out of his mind.
Is Judge also hitting over 300 in those years as well? Because a lot of those other guys that were power hitters did not hit over 300.
Yes, he is.
And they didn't play passable center field and really, really good right field. Has a really great arm out there and is the captain of the team and is the soul of the team. Like the guy is so important to the Yankees. You couldn't even I thought that you lost Juan Soto. You lose those great at bats of Juan Soto, that intensity, but you have Judge there, man. Judge is the heartbeat of that team. You put guys that are role players that are really good, that can, pick up the slack at different spots around them. Goldschmidt looks great so far. I mean, hope he can stay healthy. Looks fantastic.
Kid Rice, Volpe has been unbelievable.
Rice is, they're talking about Rice's bat speed becoming in the top 20% in the league out of nowhere since last year. He wasn't that good last year. Now he's pretty much
put on some weight.
DH first base. I guess he's the emergency catcher.
Yeah, he did that in spring training.
So that's a useful guy to have on the roster.
He's the future first baseman for the Yankees. I believe he's going to be the future first baseman.
I hope he can. I hope he can do it defensively. I really hope he can. It's great to have a guy like Goldschmidt there to learn from too. As an understudy for a guy like that would be wonderful. I'm pretty excited about it. I know Mets fans were really hoping that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was going to find his way over to Queens.
Yep.
I have a lot of friends that just assumed this was a certainty, that this is what was going to happen, that we were just going to run it back with Pete for a little bit, but it was really going to be Vladdy that was coming over the Queens. Sorry, guys. But at the same time, I don't really know where. I think you're right a little bit, Errol. Like, the deal is really a great deal for now, but what are they winning right now? Where is that roster that's ready to compete? I don't think they're going to finish above 4th in the division if they're lucky right now. It's a pretty good division.
Does Bichette stay there? Does Bichette want to stay there now?
Are they gonna be willing to pay him too? Right. Because he's, depending on the year he has, obviously he had a down year last year, but
he's had a couple of down years since that.
He's hitting 270 right now, or some hovering around 270.
Fine.
Yeah,
he's
he'll be
fine,
all right.
But he's fine. I don't think he's on the trajectory they thought he was going to be when he first came up. But he's a good player. But and they have a couple of good pitchers. Barrios pitched tonight.
That's great.
He doesn't seem to I don't know. As a stats guy, his strikeout rates are like not what they used to be, and it worries you as a guy. He's pitching the contact, and sometimes he gets shelled, and sometimes he doesn't. But that's not a number one guy. You know, you need to have some. I don't know who their number one guy is. Gausman's not that guy anymore. He got
Or
robbed.
at least they got Chris Bassett.
Bassett's my age. You know, like Bassett's been around. You know, there's a lot of what's the future really holding for them. I don't know why you signed this guy. I guess you go, you know, this is the guy. We'll figure it out around him.
Because the fans would murder them if they let him go to free agency and he goes to the Mets, just like Juan Soto. A lot of Yankee fans were attacking the Yankees and Hal Steinbrenner. Why wouldn't you go out and spend the money for Juan Soto? But they're looking pretty good right now without Juan Soto. They're getting good, timely bats. I think they're, as far as their lineup is concerned, they're much better fully with their lineup, the depth of their lineup than they were last year. And that's because they spread out the money and they went after guys that fit the roster. That's something that the Yankees needed to do in the offseason. And you see the difference. We'll see how it works out in the playoffs and how it falls together. But you're right. As Goody and Joba said, what is that going to do moving forward? Blue Jays right now, they're probably the fourth best team right now in their division. Because you have the Baltimore Orioles, you got the Yankees, and you have the Red Sox. If they're better than the Tampa Bay Rays, because you know the Rays come out of nowhere and they pull off
always
crazy seasons where you think that they're done and they're out and they get this timely pitching.
They got the best math students in American like colleges around the world to just work in their front office. That's the only way they do it every year. I don't know.
They're
how
extremely analytical, but just to your point too, maybe not signing Juan Soto this year. Just like we freeze up the money to get Kyle Tucker next year.
Oof. Kyle Tucker looks real good, man.
And then you have multiple, MVPs throughout your entire lineup. You always do with New York, but adding Kyle Tucker, goodness.
Kyle Tucker to the Mets, that's not going
to No, to the Yankees. You don't sign Juan Soto.
Kyle Tucker, the Yankees really wanted Kyle Tucker in the offseason.
I think they're going to get him.
They really wanted him. He fits the analytics. Everything that I've read that the Yankees were desperately wanting.
Is he a Boris guy?
I don't know. I don't know if he's a Boris. Everybody's a Boris guy, so probably.
It feels like,
Probably he's a Boris guy.
You getting them brownies again over there, man?
Oh, no.
You know what's crazy about
he's with Excel.
Oh, so that's even better. So you don't have to worry about Boris and negotiating deals and saying, my guy wants 11 years when he's 30 years old.
That's who I was with.
So, but I will say this. Kyle Tucker is a guy that the Yankees really wanted in the offseason. The Astros were not willing. The Astros, when there was talks between them, I heard that they wanted the Yankees' three best prospects, and the Yankees were telling them to go bug off. They were not going to do that. And one of them is Jones, who the Yankees said is untouchable. We'll see what he is and if he gets called up this year. But he's got to get his bat swing a little bit faster if he wants to come in the major league.
He's having a good start in Double-A.
Yes, he is. And maybe it's those torpedo bats, as the Yankees are cheating, as everybody keeps saying.
Oh, Lindor was using one, so maybe it's carried over to the Mets.
Of course he's using it, and so are the Dodgers, and so are all the Red Sox are going to be using it too. It's ridiculous. They call Lenny up. All they got to do is reach out to Lenny. He'll drive his little bus.
Hey, Lenny from MIT. I work for the Yankees, huh?
You see him drive up
his
Fenway.
name is Lenny.
Yeah, I'm good at math and bats and stuff.
It's working.
Probably never swung a bat ever, but is a genius.
You know, I was watching this guy swinging a bat, and I said that bat's all wrong. That bat's just all wrong.
Genius if he took a job to go to the Marlins.
Let me curve your shaft. That's what I'm going to do.
Like I
that would
said,
be a hockey stick.
Maybe he wanted 14 years and $10 million, and the Marlins really went dishing it out. So
I would pay him if the Yankees are hitting the way they are, and he's got the trajectory perfectly for Volpe. I mean, Volpe's right now. If you ask me right now, he's an MVP candidate. I mean,
every hit is like extra bases with him right now.
Unbelievable. It is, but his bat speed's been a lot faster this year. They said that he's been working on it, watching a lot of film. Who's the hitting coach for the Yankees right now? They have two of them, right?
Roland.
Oh,
Jay Roll.
Is it really?
It's James Rosen and Casey Dykes is the assistant. And then they have Pat Rossler, which you should know, Joba. Six, yeah. Six is like old school, dude. He looks like the Babe Ruth from the Sandlot. Like legit, I thought it when I walked in and met him. I thought it was Babe Ruth from the Sandlot. I was like, holy shit, I'm meeting Babe Ruth. Like, and then he was like, hey, my name's Six, and I was like, oh, damn, never mind.
My name is Six. I love it. That's fantastic.
And then
I didn't know what his real name was when I first met him because he was roving at that time when I got there.
Yeah, no, he's a dog, dude.
And so they're
Six
like
just roving around the clubhouse.
Yeah, so it's a roving coordinator, so that he's the one that like would go to all like the minor league fields and all the other stuff. And they're like, yeah, that's Six. And I was like, then somebody was like, said something about Pet Ralph. So I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah,
they're like, that's Six. And I'm like,
you're like Babe Ruth. Oh, you mean Babe Ruth? Yeah. I smoked a cigar with him on field 3. What a legend! Hey, he was actually with the Mets not too long ago either. I think in 2017.
With K Long.
Yeah.
Oh, 2017, the year the Mets had Tim Tebow.
Probably. One of the years he was over there. I remember seeing him across the field, and I was like, "Oh man!" I thought it was Babe Ruth again. He was like, "You in the wrong Met uniform there, kid."
The Ruther. I honestly, getting back to finishing up with what the American League East could be, I think the Blue Jays made a big mistake paying him. But again, they have to make their fans happy, and he is their superstar player. He's the face of the organization, and they got to pay him. Look, the Yankees, a lot of people were questioning the Yankees giving Aaron Judge 8 years, $360 million. Now the Yankees look really, really smart because they have arguably the best player in the league, and he's making less than Ohtani, Soto, and Vladimir Guerrero, and he's better than all of them. So figure that one out. So, I mean, it's kind of incredible. But he wanted to be a Yankee. San Francisco wanted.
And he's going to get his number retired, all of that. He's going to be one of the best ever to do it.
He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, Aaron Judge, if he were to retire right now, he's a Hall of Famer. Yes. I mean, his numbers are proven that he is a Hall of Famer. And Aaron Judge has another good 4 years. And if he can, at this trajectory, he's going to hit 500 home runs.
4 like good years, like really these crazy strong years, and then probably a couple more after that.
Yeah, well, he's going to get 500 home runs. I wouldn't even be surprised if he hit 6.
Well, I mean they said that he's at the fastest pace ever. First 1,000 games, he just came up a little older, so it's just a matter of like how healthy he can stay getting into his second half of his 30s.
Joba, you know this too, by the way. If you look at all these young players that get called up, Savarino, how long did it take him to get called up? He was like 25, 26. I think he was 24, 25 when he got called up in the first year, right? You played with him. And I'm looking at I'm trying to think of the players that got called up later. And
Greg Bird, Severino, Gary Sanchez.
Greg Bird, he fell short. I don't know what happened to Greg Bird. He was such a great hitter.
He hurt his shoulder. He was playing with a hurt shoulder throughout most of his career. And then when he got and he was swinging with it because we were pretty close, and he couldn't get to the fastball. The fastball inside was blowing him up, and like when he had to cheat, and like that's not him. He's a very good hitter, very very good hitter, even with a hurt shoulder. And then it just.
I remember when he was getting called up, and they said that he is by far the best hitter in their farm system, and nobody ever heard of. Like they knew he was a first baseman, but the Yankees were not like repping him. It was Aaron Judge. It was all these other guys that everybody was talking about that were getting up. Who was the other kid, the Dominican kid that was like their number one prospect? Florial. Remember him?
Yeah, Esteban Florial. He was pretty good too.
But what happens sometimes too is with these kids in the minor leagues, is sometimes they get hindered by who's playing that position, so they kind of get stuck. And so some of these guys that do come up later is not because they don't deserve it or they're not.
That's the problem with the Yankees.
I was going to say, there's been a lot of criticism with the Yankees prospect development, and that's why Brian Cashman was also taking shots at the analytics department at the end of the 23 season when they missed the playoffs.
That's what I'm worried about Dominguez. I think Dominguez is a guy that just doesn't fit New York. He'll go somewhere else and be a great player. I just don't know if he fits here. He's loving it.
It's like a Clint Frazier. Remember Clint Frazier?
Yeah. But
same thing.
I think he's better than Clint because he's a switch hitter, and I think he's got a good arm. I just don't know if he's an outfielder.
He's got to figure out the outfield. I mean, they're going to give him a shot this year to do it. If it isn't passable, then they're going to look elsewhere. That's really what it is. They're going to see, can he do it? Because they're not going to DH him.
He's trade bait no matter what, because they're going after Kyle Tucker. And I'm telling you right
now, there's a bigger reason too. Even if they don't get Kyle Tucker, there's another one that you love in the minors as well, coming up right behind him, named Spencer Jones, that has the same size as Aaron Judge, and they say could play center field.
They're saying, and I'm just telling you what I've been reading, is they're thinking about moving him to first base. That's what I've heard, that the Yankees might be thinking about moving him to first base. So
is he a lefty or a righty? Is he
Spencer Jones is left-handed.
He's left-handed. He's a left-handed. Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes glove is the different, but
and they said that there are stories
baseman,
they might think about shifting him to first base. That's just what I heard.
A 6'8" lefty first baseman with a stretch. That's not a terrible thing for the infield.
That's what they're saying. That's what there was stories coming out, that because the Yankees are. I'm telling you, the Yankees are absolutely gunning for Kyle Tucker. I don't know if anybody, and Kyle Tucker wanted to come to the Yankees, by the way. It wasn't the Cubs. Everybody was like, oh, we wanted to go. The Astros were never trading the Yankees Kyle Tucker, because you're pretty much giving the Yankees, here, go win a World Series. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that in a division.
The only people that would do that are the New York Giants with Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's true.
The only people that would do something that stupid and irresponsible.
Speaking of stupid, no, I'm just kidding. Speaking of stupid, call this Tic-Tac-No.
Marsh, right in the butt. What? We get the prizes cheap because they're stolen.
No. Now here's your host, the Tick himself, Owen the Tick Reckner.
All right, you guys ready?
Oh, we're ready, Owen.
Got some good ones tonight.
Never would you. You're going to cheat.
I never cheat. Job is the one that looks the answers up and see it in his glasses.
I got 3 screens right now. You're going to see everything.
Anyways, first question. Who was the first guy in the NBA to ever shatter a backboard?
Oh, geez.
It's obviously not Shaq.
Shaq did shatter a backboard.
Well, I know, but not the first. That's too easy.
He shaked his head, so...
Someone can guess Shaq to get it out of the way.
Shaq.
Nope.
Bad guess. We knew it wasn't Shaq.
Shut up, Fish.
Was it Dominique?
Nope.
All right, that's my guess.
You said
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Nope.
I'm gonna say Wilt.
Nope.
Damn.
Bill Laimbeer.
Nope.
We got no chance. I just looked it up.
That's a terrible guess.
Larry Bird.
Charles Barkley.
Nope. All right. Everybody out?
I guess so.
Chuck Connors in 1946 with the Boston Celtics.
Chuck. and then he got bit by a radioactive spider and fought.
That's the dip off his tongue. The dip off his tongue.
Did he go to LSU?
I love when you like talk about like sports when like the basketball wasn't round yet.
It was square.
It was like a square. Like
I didn't even know they had backboards that shattered back then. I thought they were still wood.
I used to teach about. You going middle like always, or where are you going?
Yep.
All right. I used to teach about like an ancient Aztec basketball game where they would sacrifice the losing team to the gods. Couldn't use your hands, couldn't use your feet. You had to use just your hips, and the hoop was sideways.
I could just show my arm.
Is this real? Is this
real?
I got the
Poketoke.
Did you know lacrosse was like a Native American sport? They play with heads.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Soccer was originally skulls kicking around in a graveyard in like Ireland or something.
What do you mean you can only use your hips though?
Look it up. Science. I mean, it's history.
Soka-toke?
Culture. Pock-a-talk. Like Tic-Tac-No. Yeah.
Pock-a-talk. Okay. Right on.
Pock. Like hockey.
Hockaloogie.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. What sport is called the sport of kings?
Anyone.
The sport of kings.
I have heard
Horse racing.
No.
She could do it herself.
Oh,
I'm gonna guess. I know it's popular in England. I'm gonna say croquet.
Nope.
No, not croquet.
Shuffleboarding.
Croquet is the sport of queens, probably.
The sport of kings.
What's it called? They play it on horses and they hit it.
Like the gladiator thing. Oh, the I don't know what you call that. The javelin things.
No. They play it on horses with the ball, the kings,
Polo,
and the
that's polo.
Is that
Oh,
polo?
polo. Yeah, that's polo.
Yeah. The sports of kings.
So you're talking about the thing where the two like guys just like charge at each other on horses.
Jousting?
That's jousting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Jousting.
How about I got it? Let me guess.
Are we making guesses? here?
Cricket. Is it cricket?
Cricket.
Ah,
Jousting wasn't it either.
Is it rugby?
Nope.
oh, it's like that bowl thing when they hit it with like I know-
Tetherball? Tetherball is the sport of kings.
Jabba, you got anything? Think you're the
Uh,
last one.
I'm gonna go sport of king. It can't be in like an American sport.
Anyone say
Ball
soccer
turning.
yet?
Ball turning.
Everyone's
Uh,
Trim himself.
go wrestling. I don't know.
No, you guys should have listened to Goody. He said it. Polo is the answer.
Polo. I thought someone guessed that.
Goody already guessed, so
Oh, what
tried
the
to
hell?
give
I
you
thought
guys
that
the
was a
answer.
guess.
He tried to give you guys the answer. Nobody listened.
That was my original. All right, where are you going?
Just go down middle.
Gosh, I am so smart. I'm surrounded by idiots.
I was like, who's gonna say it? Because Goody already gave the answer, his answer.
Goody. That was.
Look at me.
Good,
I'm
you know,
surrounded
the
by.
one- First of all, I'm the one who said polo. I'm the one who said polo, and Goody
You
was
never
like,
said-
"That's right." I said
You
polo.
never said polo. Goody's like, I think it's polo. What's the thing you hit on horses?
Oh, I said polo.
Yeah.
I'm
I
the
couldn't
one who
think of
said
the.
polo.
I couldn't think of the
I
name.
said
And
polo,
you said it.
Owen. You cheater. You don't even give me credit for that, you little
You
bastard.
never even guessed it. You
Yes,
guessed
I
what?
did, you liar.
Guess what?
He's
Croc?
saying you guessed too timidly.
Oh,
because
You
you're
gotta
not
say,
a timid
Errol. You
person.
got to say it with your chest.
Yeah. That's what it is.
All right.
That's what it was.
All right.
Human wait.
Who has the most pass attempts in a single NFL game?
Huskers only.
Joe Burrow. I don't remember exactly how many, but no, it's not Joe Burrow.
That's not correct.
What was the
Matt
question?
Stafford. Matt
Most
Stafford.
passing attempts in a single game.
Ah,
We guess Joe Burrow and I guess Matt Stafford.
Oh, no, that was Joe.
Neither are correct.
It was with the rookie. It was the most by a rookie. All right, I screwed that up. Never mind.
Most pass attempts. I feel like it's going to be a weird one and not an obvious one.
Yeah, I think it was. I want to say it was Jameis Winston when Bruce Arians was there that year.
It wasn't famous Jameis.
It was
No.
1920s Jim Thorpe.
It wasn't. This guy, everybody will know. Everybody
He
will
threw
know.
six-
I
653
actually think it's
passes.
Fitzmagic.
Is he still
Is
playing?
it
Is he still
Fitzmagic?
playing?
He's not still playing, and it's not Fitzmagic.
Damn.
It's got to be like
Not playing.
Drew Brees.
Could you give us a
Not
hint? Was he in the 90s?
He's in the 90s.
I don't know this name.
Starter a lot, or was he a backup?
Starter, and then a backup for a short amount of time.
I got it. I'm gonna guess it. Steve
Go.
Young.
No.
Ah, you
No. Steve Young ran the ball.
Well,
out.
he said he was a backup and became a starter.
No,
It's Steve
he was
Young.
like the most passing attempts.
All right, I'm gonna do this because maybe when we had our guests on, is it Marino?
It's not Marino. That's a sweep, boys. Thank you for your time tonight. The answer
Come on.
is Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe.
How many?
70.
Oh Lord,
Jesus.
Jeez, should have had him on my fantasy team.
And that's it. Owen
fantasy football in the
does
90s, Cody.
win.
Goodness gracious.
I used to call Bledsoe Bloody Bled. Okay, that's what I
So
used to call him.
now Errol has to run the naked mile. For those
Which nobody wants to see. We don't have to live event that.
Hold on.
Yes.
First
Yes,
of all,
we do.
First of all, buddy, we got a bet to fall through with. Okay, when that happens, you will lose, my friend. And I'm
We'll
gonna
see.
watch. I'm gonna see a nice pink dress. You're gonna get a nice pink dress and a nice wig, and you're gonna
Nobody thought Penix was going number 7 last year.
listen. There's no
No.
way in hell. There's no way in hell he's going to the Giants. There's no way. And you remember I said that because that's not a chance. Not a chance in hell. All right, when we come back, a lot more to get into. Alexander Ovechkin breaks the record. Wayne Gretzky shakes his head up the Islanders' assholes. Yes, he did. As he was kissing the Islanders' asses over there at the UBS Arena, as he tells everybody, I love the Islander fans. Meanwhile, he never wanted to be an Islander. So when we come back, Alexander Ovechkin hits 895 and much, much more. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Poops.
Jabba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
All right. I am back. Scoops, not poops. I am back to give you guys some scores. However, for the NFL draft, which is just weeks away, Ohio State running back Trevion Henderson is set to visit the Bengals this week. Now, Henderson, who just is fresh off of a national championship, in 4 years with the Buckeyes, he played 47 games, rushed for over 3,700 yards, and managed to score 42 touchdowns, as Henderson could very well be drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. In new NFL news, in his intro press conference, newest Raider, QB Geno Smith, said that he has unfinished business with Pete Carroll. Geno Smith said that he was coached by Carroll in his last 2 seasons over there in Seattle, and that he didn't even try to counter his trade because he was so looking forward to going to Vegas with Carroll. Carroll even said that even his last season, Smith would still call Pete Carroll for advice and coaching, and is looking forward to running it back with Pete Carroll in this new season with the Vegas Raiders. And to finish off over on the hardwood, in the NBA, with the final week of basketball here ahead of us, the NBA reveals the possible playoff seedings and heading into the postseason, while the Thunder already have the number 1 clinch spot in the Western Conference. The Lakers and the Rockets are looking to lock up the number 2 seed. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers and Celtics are fighting for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and the Knicks and Pacers are looking to lock up the number 3 seed going into the postseason. Now for some scores currently going on in the men's national championship game. Houston has a 44-34 lead over the Gators right now in the second half. As currently over in the MLB, the 2 games going on right now are the Orioles having a 2-0 lead over the Diamondbacks at the top of the third, while at the top of the third, the Astros and Mariners are 0 right now, 0 runs on the board. While at the bottom of the third, the Reds and Giants also have 0 on the board, and the Padres have a 3-0 lead over the Athletics. And that is all the time I have for you guys right now. Make sure you're checking out all our content and on all our socials at YouTube at Jabba in the Mouth. And like I said, on all our socials, all at Jabba in the Mouth on Twitter, X, and even on TikTok. And without further ado, here's the continuation of Jabba in the Mouth.
Any questions?
This is the Jabba and the Mouth Show.
What do you think the chips are? Does it go the right way or the left? Not hearing any 631-672-3108. DJ Speedy, or whatever the hell we call him. You're listening to Jabba in the Mouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Jabba Chamberlain, and the Speedster, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jabba in the Mouth with me and Jabba Chamberlain every single Mondays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. By the way, I didn't get a chance to drink my nice cup of OJ with our friend OJ, but nevertheless, at least one OJ didn't do anything desperately stupid. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, yesterday,
Fish, what's your OJ of choice?
Alexander Ovechkin scored his 895th career goal, breaking Wayne Gretzky's record for the most goals in NHL history. Ovechkin scored 2 goals on Friday night versus the Blackhawks and had a chance to break it, but said he didn't want to have the record-setting goal by an empty net. After scoring the goal, the game stopped to have a ceremony on the ice, and Gary Bettman and Wayne Gretzky both giving speeches congratulating Ovechkin on the record-breaking goal. Ovechkin then spoke after that, thanking fans and Capital trainers and players, and then joked how it was a Russian goalie in Ilya Sorokin, allowing him his 895th goal. Islander players also gave Ovechkin a long handshake line before they resumed the game, which the Islanders actually won, with Sorokin being the last person to shake Ovechkin's hand. Islanders ownership also allowed fans to be able to print their tickets for a keepsake after the game. Ovechkin had played the exact same number of games, 1,487, and seasons, 20, as Gretzky when he broke the record. And by the way, I want to say something. First of all, if he didn't break it at the same target, or didn't break it at if he broke it at 1486, it would have been something special. But even though he broke it at 1487, it's still, nobody can say that he needed an extra game to break Wayne Gretzky's record. He broke his record at 1487, which tells me he did it. He was on pace to do it the way Wayne Gretzky did. First of all, just think about it this way. The goalies are bigger. The nets are bigger. The goalies are more athletic than they ever were. And the game is much faster than it ever was. The fact that Ovechkin did it in a time where goal scoring is at a premium, it's an incredible pace that he had. 10 seasons in a row with 50 or more goals. It's incredible. He's had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 13 40-goal seasons. The career that Ovechkin has had, I don't think we'll ever see. If you look at right now in the NHL, the only guy that has a chance to possibly have the trajectory to break his record, that's Austin Matthews. And I just can't see Austin Matthews doing it the way Ovechkin has done it year in and year out. He did it on one team. You look at Wayne Gretzky, he didn't do it on one team. He played for multiple teams. He played for St. Louis. He played for the Rangers. He played for the LA Kings. This guy's done it on one team, one organization. That's incredible what he did. And to me, when you look at the player that he is and the person that he is, big, strong, talented, and it really stands for what Capital Hockey has been over the last couple of years. He's won him a Stanley Cup. It's not like this guy hasn't won it or taken his team to the highest point. This guy has done it year in and year out, been a leader. He stays practically healthy every single season. Just think about it. When you play as hard as you do, you hit the way you do, you're tough the way you are, you would expect that Ovechkin was going to be out a significant amount of time. How many games in his career has he really missed? He's been incredible. And I still think he's going to play at least another year, maybe even two, the way this team is and the way it's set up. When I look at the Islanders and the organization and what they did, a lot of Islander fans did not like it. They did not like how the game was stopped, how they let out, a beautiful red carpet. This guy's killed the Islanders every single year. I would say in the top 5 teams that he scored the most goals on. That's the truth. And it's so funny. It's so fitting when Wayne Gretzky went up there and had his speech and what he said. He said that I love the Islanders. I love Al Albert. I love this guy. I love that guy, but he never wanted to be an Islander. So it just shows you who Wayne Gretzky really is. He's a fake and he's a liar. But nevertheless, Wayne Gretzky, he is the great one. And I think Ovechkin is going to be looked at as this record that Ovechkin has might be looked at as a record that might never be broken. Because if Ovechkin plays another year or two and he's at this pace, even if he scores 30 goals next year, he might even play another 2 or 3 years so he could break 1,000 and then it'll never be touched again. I mean, this is an incredible feat. And everybody was trying to compare Sidney Crosby. Who's the greatest hockey player of this era? They would say Sidney Crosby or Ovechkin. I don't think you can argue it anymore. It is Alexander Ovechkin. Congratulations to one of the greatest hockey players of this era, if not the greatest hockey player in the last 25 years, a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer. And when you look at Wayne Gretzky, he'll never get the points record that Wayne Gretzky. I don't think anybody will ever hit that record. But what he did it in a time that it was so hard to put the goal and put the puck in the net, and he did it year in and year out. That is more incredible than what Wayne Gretzky did at the time that he was doing it, where he was scoring 70 goals a season. This is even more incredible than that. He's a special player too. Special player in my heart because I've watched this guy. I remember when this guy came into the NHL and everybody was like, nobody knew who he was until you watched the Olympics and you watched Russia play. And when he was drafted by the Washington Capitals and everybody said, this guy is the next big time goal scorer in the NHL. I said, they say that about everybody, but this guy is by far the greatest goal scorer I've ever seen play. And I watched Mario Lemieux play, Wayne Gretzky play, Jaromir Jagr play, all the greats play. This guy is the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, when you look at it from the wing position, it seemed like Jagr was going to be that guy that established it for like a while for the goals record and that. And it seemed like nobody was going to go for that. And Ovechkin's longevity has just been so incredible on so much team turnover that the Capitals have had, of an older team, a team that did not lost a lot of depth. And like you said, his physical playing style, you didn't know how it was going to hold up. We were talking about an injury that was supposed to be 4 weeks at minimum, and he came back in 2 weeks, and he still was putting up great numbers amidst all that. At 40 years old, and now he's doing it in a year where, again, the Washington Capitals are first in the division by a lot. Like, he's carrying the team amidst all that. What he's just doing is flat out incredible in every regard possible.
Did you see that goal that he scored against Sorokin? I mean, that wasn't an easy goal.
No,
that was like that was a rocket that went right past him. I mean, it wasn't an easy goal. He's incredible, dude. I've never seen anybody skate at his size, skate the way he skates, and how powerful he is going to the net. He is unstoppable. He's still unstoppable.
Yeah.
This guy's 40 years old and scores 40 or more goals. It's incredible. I never would have thought.
And he's a sniper too, on top of it. It's like it's out of control how good he is. He's still obviously he's not as fast as he once was, at least as nimble as he was. But my God, that guy still could play. He's carrying that team. He missed 16 games this year. He has 43 goals.
And that's what I was about to say.
Out of control. He's 40 years old.
It was great that he got on a signature shot too. Like, it's not like he just tipped it in or it like deflected off his body when it was in front of the net or anything like that. He got on a signature shot, on a slap shot, on a power play goal against, like Errol was saying, like a goalie in Sorokin that's a good goalie.
He's one of the best goalies in the world.
Yeah, and again, it was kind of symbolic, obviously, with the Russian angle too. And I'll give some kudos to the Islanders too with what they did, the handshake line, also what the ownership did too.
I just don't like what Wayne Gretzky did. All right, it's such a mockery that he went out there.
That he was there to celebrate with him.
No, that when he went out there, the first thing he said, "Oh, the Islander fans! I have always loved the Islander fans. This is the only place that I've always had problems. I've lost a lot of games against this team." But then he said, "I love this player. I love that guy." But you never wanted to play for the Islanders. I remember when he became available and the Islanders wanted to make a move for him, and he said, "I don't want to be. I'll play for the Rangers. I'm not playing for the Islanders."
So you don't want to play in the Nassau Coliseum. I mean, come on now.
The loudest stadium by far when they pack out. The loudest stadium. I mean, when you were at a playoff game, the stadium shaked.
He went to LA and became all Hollywood. He wasn't going to go play in that dump after that. Come on.
Oh, but he played for the Rangers and never won anything. Yeah,
because he's beautiful. Great place to play. It's one of the. It's like if God could pick a place.
Haven't won since 1994. Yeah, great place to win.
It's not about who they've won. It's about everyone wants to play there. Everyone shows up and plays well.
Everybody loses there. Great. Good job. Everybody wants to go there, play to lose. That's great.
Fine. You want to play in a dump, you can play in a dump.
It's not a dump.
Now it's UBS arena.
You're going to say that's a dump?
It's not a dump. It's not a dump.
Oh,
but it was a dump. When you're going to tell me the Nassau Coliseum was like the apple of everyone's eye.
It wasn't a dump, okay? It was loud, just like the old Yankee Stadium. The Yankees should have never gotten rid of the old Yankee Stadium. It was loud. The place was shaking.
I don't disagree with that.
All right, you don't disagree because you're a Yankee fan. And now, because it's loud over there.
I don't disagree because when I used to walk into Yankee Stadium, you would have to walk through. You couldn't see the field, and then you'd walk through that alley, and then you'd walk out and you'd see the most awesome field ever. And it was like this great thing. But now you kind of just see the field every time whenever you're just walking in the aisles. It's not like that same majesty of how awesome that stadium was. To me, it's not as good. I don't know. It's a different type of architecture. It doesn't matter. I wanted to talk more about how Alexander Ovechkin was must-see TV. And if I was going to spend the little money I ever had to go watch a Rangers game in an expensive place like MSG, because I'm not going to go to a dump like Nassau Coliseum to watch a game, it would be to go see the Capitals. It would be to go see the Penguins when Crosby was there at Malkin. I wanted to see those teams. I was in college when the Rangers had Jagr. Though I would try to go see whoever was good, but it was always, can you get Ovechkin tickets? because he was unbelievable. You couldn't stop that guy. He was electric, and he still is doing like amazing things. But you always had like just nightmares as soon as he
Coming
tapped.
from Ranger fan, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Well, because he was our nemesis forever.
Yeah,
like you don't deny that he's the guy that you would go to see. Like, we got to beat this guy. This is the guy. Like, it's fun. Like when the Knicks played Jordan, it was the same thing. Like you wanted to watch them play Jordan, try to beat Jordan.
The Ranger fans thought that they like Ovechkin. They couldn't stand Sidney Crosby. That's the nemesis that the Ranger fans always want to see.
Sidney Crosby didn't play in necessarily the most manliest of ways very often, and complained
but
a lot.
That's the truth. He's a bitch. And then you look at Ovechkin. He plays.
I enjoy every time you talk about Sidney Crosby being.
Because it's true. Listen.
You were one of the guys that were older than him, beating him up when he was skating around.
He was 12, yes, and I was about 17 at the time when I was playing against him. And and he still was a bitch, and he still opened his big fat mouth every time.
He was beating up his 12-year-old ass when he was 17.
Damn right. You're damn right. Yeah. I was doing everything dirty to him too. So
go back to sixth grade, Sydney.
I bet you like that.
No, it's damn right I did. Every bit of it. Every bit of it.
It's funny. The guy I did my college sports there with, he was also an Islander fan. He actually got a custom shirt with a Penguins logo crying and then crybaby something on the back.
There were 2 players I couldn't stand playing against. Well, 3. I couldn't stand Rick DiPietro. For years, I played junior hockey with that ass. He is an ass.
Islanders legend.
He's a nasty.
Number 2 on Errol's most hated athlete.
He is a nasty SOB. And I'm telling you right, if I ever see him in public, I would knock him the hell out. I can't stand Rick DiPietro. He's a nasty person. And the way he treats women, it's despicable. When I used to see this guy go out, and the way he talked to women like they were dirt. He's like, get out of my way. I'm Rick DiPietro. Who the hell cares who you are? You suck. And the Islanders still in that ass. Okay. That's one of them. I wasn't too fond of Sid the Kid. And Speedy, could you guess the other hockey player that I couldn't stand?
No, I can't.
He's the GM for the New York Rangers.
Oh, that bad, huh?
Chris Drury. Wow. I couldn't stand playing junior hockey.
I know you said you didn't like him. I didn't know he was on the Rick DiPietro level.
First of all, his father's an ass, all right? His father's an ass, and he talks about how great his son was in baseball. He could play professional baseball if he wanted, but hockey was his love. Yeah, he sucked at hockey, and he would have sucked at baseball too. He is an overrated chump. And the fact that the Ranger fans still love this guy for what he has done to this organization, it's a joke. And by the way, for all you Ranger fans that have watched this debacle of a season, I can't wait to see how he's going to screw up the offseason for the New York Rangers. He's an idiot. And all the other guys that I said, Ovechkin, I love. I wish nothing but the best for this guy. I hope he stays and he hits 1,000 goals. He's a special player. Good, kind soul. Every time he goes out there, he plays hard every single time. Not just for his team, but for all the fans that come. He is the Michael Jordan of this era. He will go out there just for the fans and play his ass off because he knows that everybody is paying to see him play. And not
when you say that, Joba, it makes me wonder 2 things. Number one, did you have anyone like Errol had where you just had a rival where you just wanted to beat him up like Rick DiPietro?
There is one
that was like
Tom Brady's brother-in-law. We've spoken about.
And the other thing is, Job, I know you're a Rangers fan. I don't know if you have any cool memories of Rangers playing Ovechkin, in some classics over the years.
No, not really. I mean, obviously, watching him from afar and being a hockey fan, the one thing that I don't think people. First of all, they don't get enough credit for being great athletes, I think, first and foremost.
100%.
And also the way Ovi played and the fact that in 20 seasons, there's only been 4 seasons he's played less than 70 games. To do it that long and to be that good and just that productive and be somebody that not only your teammates can rely on, know you're going to show up, know you're giving it everything you got. And to play this sport, and the contact and, just the wear and tear, and to only have 4 seasons and you're 40. I mean, it's amazing. And there are seasons where he didn't miss a game and you're not playing 100% healthy. We all know it's like you're playing banged up. You're doing everything before you get to the field.
When he plays.
I thought he was done last year in the playoffs. Last year in the playoffs, he had nothing left. The Rangers swept them.
Yeah, and it's just how he continues, and I don't know if he's done. The way he's playing and still
now,
yeah, and still producing the way it is. I just think it's a credit to just the love that he has for the game, his teammates, and the fact that he did it with one team. That doesn't happen a lot in sports in general, let alone hockey.
I don't remember. First of all, Wayne Gretzky never did it. Mario Lemieux would have broken Wayne Gretzky's record if he wasn't out for 5 years with leukemia, and he was special. But I'm honestly going to say this, and I would have never said this. Ovechkin is a better offensive player than Mario Lemieux was. I mean, what he is doing right now in a time that scoring goals is not easy to do. It really isn't. And he's doing it year in and year out. Doesn't matter how big the goalie is, how small the net is, what ice he's playing on, how many fans he's playing in front of, and how many people boo him. He goes out there and he works his ass off, plays so hard. He's special, man. There are not many guys that you can honestly say that watching hockey, Brett Hull used to get drunk before games, play drunk, and do what he was doing, scoring hat trick after hat trick and 2 goals a game. This guy doesn't do any of that stuff. You haven't heard anything off the ice that this man has ever done wrong, ever. Have you heard anything that Alex Ovechkin has done that would say that, oh, he's rubbed the game in the ground or rubbed it in the dirt? This guy has done everything right. And that's why not only is he a first ballot Hall of Famer, he's going to go down as the greatest goal scorer. I don't think this record will ever be broken. You heard me say that. I don't think we'll ever see it be broken because I don't think Austin Matthews is going to come close because the guy doesn't ever stay healthy. And Connor McDavid is special, but he's more of a pass. He's like a Wayne Gretzky-esque, but he plays too much to look to pass before he looks to shoot. So he's a great goal scorer, but he looks to pass first before he shoots.
Do you think he'll stay till he gets to 1,000 and then be done?
Depends on how his injuries hold up, but
why not? I mean,
he's gonna try.
He'll do it in 3 years. He'll do it in 3 years.
If he can score 40 goals in like 3/4 of a season, why wouldn't he be able to do that for a couple more years? Like at that rate, that's all it would take. I mean, can you imagine if he can put up 50 goals in a season? I mean, he's not going to get there this year, obviously, but if he can get 50 goals and like at 41 years old would be just absurd. Did he just already break the record?
Yeah,
Gordie Howe have the record?
Yeah, do you want to hear how absurd he is when it comes to goal scoring? He has scored 5 of his team's last 7 goals. Okay, just think about that. 5 of his team's last 7 goals. All right. That's how good this man is.
I could have scored 6. He just didn't want the empty
And this is the best team right now in the Eastern Conference. This Washington Capital team is the best team in the Eastern Conference. Why? Because of him.
So I got one last thing. In Job, I don't know if you had anyone on the team that was like in their 40s or like late 30s when you were playing, but everyone that's playing with him like grew up watching him play at this point, right? Everyone that's on that team with him, just like in awe of the fact that he's their teammate. It's got to be like a surreal thing to be playing at that age and like having, hear like from like the quarterbacks, like Aaron Rodgers been playing forever and everyone's a lot younger. But this is a little different. Ovechkin's still like playing pretty great hockey. Like have you ever had that experience with someone still playing like great at that age and what it was like being around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody like once they start, like you always think you're gonna slow down, and obviously some do. But I think there's so many that I played with that into their late 30s. Even into their 40s, where, just the dedication that it takes to not just be there, but to go out and get everything done. Cause it takes a little longer. The bones creak, it's a little bit longer. Like I'll never forget David Wright having a conversation with him. He's like, I got to warm up to warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets to that point when, you get, we only see what happens on the ice. We don't see what Ovi goes into preparation, what it is. I loved when they showed him walking in and he walked into the arena and he immediately took his tie off. It was fantastic. And So it just, you don't see the preparation. And I think it's so hard because, as we've said, Father Time always wins. And what goes into getting ready, especially in a sport like that, where obviously I never know. My son stopped playing when he was young, so I got to see a little bit of it. But knowing the preparation when you see these guys get ready for a start, and it's like, okay, I got to warm up to warm up. It's like, okay, let me get ready to get ready. And it's just, you just tip your cap to these guys that continue to have the longevity. And, a guy like a Justin Verlander who, blows out late in his career and still pitching, obviously didn't have a great start his last outing, but seeing, what it takes to get ready when you get older and how much time it takes to continue to try and be the best version of yourself at that point.
I will say this, and I agree everything that you said. LeBron James is 40 years old, and look at what he's doing. It is ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
I can't stand LeBron James as a person, but as a player, being that he's 40 years old, he's putting up the numbers. And by the way, Keith, I'm just letting you know, when the Lakers knock off OKC, and I told you so, I don't want to hear you bitch and moan, because this team is absolutely going to run right through OKC. The way they're playing right now, LeBron James is healthy. Luka Doncic is feeling it now. Good luck, the Western Conference with this team. I don't see any Western Conference team beating this team. I'm just speaking the truth. By the way, I want to get Owen in because I know he likes this guy. Before Friday's Warriors versus Nuggets game, Steve Kerr told reporters that he considers Nikola Jokic the greatest center ever. Kerr specifically compared him to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was the best center he ever faced, and said that Jokic is doing many things Kareem never did. He also referred Jokic averaging a triple-double for the season, something no center has ever done, and only Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook has ever done. He also mentioned he's not like to compare eras because big men didn't have to do everything Jokic does, but the influence on the game Jokic has had is good as any other big man. Jokic has 7 different NBA records for his center, including 2 single game records of 60-point triple doubles and a 30, 20, and 20 stat line. Jokic is averaging 30 points per game, 12.8 rebounds per game, and 10.2 assists per game this season. Speedy, you don't have to add all that. I think it's ridiculous. Here's what I'm going to say, and this is the truth. Jokic, first of all, you cannot compare eras. So Steve Kerr saying that he's the greatest center of all time is a little ridiculous. And we have to see what this guy is going to do moving forward. He's only 30 years old. He's got a lot of basketball left. To compare him to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is ridiculous. He is not Kareem. There's no comparison to Kareem. Kareem was a different type of player. Now, Jokic is a great shooter. There's no question. And the game has changed. It's different. It's completely different. Now, could Jokic go down as the greatest center of all time? 100%. He might very well be that, but not yet. And to compare him to all the great centers of what we've seen over the last 20, 30 years, it's different. The 90s was different. The early 2000s were different. The 80s was different. Yeah, I mean, in the 80s, we saw that tough center. I mean, the Lambeers, the Robert Parishes. That's what they were in the 80s. In the 70s, we talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and then Wilt Chamberlain and then the end of, Russell's, tenure. I mean, it is a different era. It's different times. To say that the game is different. If you put your hands on a player now, you're going to the free throw line. In those days, you're going to get clotheslined. It's a different game. And for Steve Kerr to come out and say, well, I played against Kareem and he was special and da-da-da-da-da. You never played against Jokic, and you never played in a time that the game was so wide open. Steve, you were a great three-point shooter in a time where you were hitting open jump shots. You think that you would be doing that in the game now? You're not. You were never athletic. There was no athletic ability in your bones, okay? And that's why Michael Jordan picked on you all the time. So it it's just pathetic. And I'm not a Steve Kerr fan because I think he's an overrated coach who's coached great players in Steph Curry and Draymond Green in the primes of their career, Thompson and Kevin Durant. So it's great. And he won an Olympic gold medal. Anybody would have won an Olympic gold medal this year with the team that he put together or they put together. I just think when you're coming out and you're saying something like this guy hasn't even finished his career, and you're saying he's the greatest center of all time. People are saying that he's better than Michael Jordan. That's ridiculous. It's dumb. It's stupid. Stop comparing eras. There is no comparison. I remember what would happen in the beginning of the season, Speedy. Remember, there was a player that's playing for the Spurs that everybody said could go down as the greatest player in NBA history. Do you remember what I'm talking about, Speedy? No. Right now on the Spurs, the center of the Spurs.
Wemby.
Wembanyama. Remember when they were saying that? And I put out a post and everybody attacked it on TikTok and said, oh, this guy's never gotten hurt. This guy this. And he hasn't played hurt ever. And then all of a sudden, what did he get? He gets blood clots. We don't know if this guy's even going to play again at 100% because blood clots are always going to be in your body. They never go away. So here's the thing. I look at the game and the transition of the game. It's fun to watch. Everybody loves it. Fantasy fans love it because you're seeing points and rebounds and assists. You're seeing things that we've never seen a big man do or any of these guys. I just think that people need to stop, put the brakes on, and wait until this guy finishes his career. It's special. It is special. It's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. I love him. I think he's great for the sport. Stop it, Steve. You say the dumbest things all the time. You said that Steph Curry is the greatest point guard of all time. You're an idiot. Magic Johnson is way better than he was. Stop with this crap. He defended multiple positions, and this guy can't even defend a point guard position. Stop with this. He's the greatest shooter of all time. That's it. Stop with this crap, putting him over Magic Johnson or what Isaiah Thomas did at the time that the game transitioned into Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. That's all I'm going to say about Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr just needs to zipper his mouth and just coach the damn game.
Yeah, he might be up there when it comes to skill, but
I can't stand Steve Kerr.
But he has to play. He has to play longer to get there to the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar level because his longevity was incredible for that time. And again, the innovation with the skyhook, the innovation with kind of the cultural player that he was off the court too, was something that transcended the NBA game in his own right. Now, Jokic is obviously doing it with his passing and his skill that he brings to the center position. So can he get there? It's definitely possible. But I'm not going to jump the gun and say he already is there at this point after entering his 10th season in the NBA, where he's going to be thought of in that right. Is he a future Hall of Famer? Absolutely.
He's a Hall of Famer right now if he were to retire.
Absolutely. Should he win his 4th MVP? Absolutely. And like you said, he's one of the few players that doesn't have a significant flaw in his game whatsoever because he could do everything at a high level or at least a good level, even if he doesn't win in the playoffs. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a whole different level of dominance for what his time was. Same with Hakeem Olajuwon. There are certain centers that still are significant guys that maybe they didn't shoot or pass as well because you didn't have to back then.
Speedy, they said Michael Jordan couldn't shoot the three. He wasn't a good three-point shooter. If Michael Jordan was playing at this time, don't you think Michael Jordan would be a great three-point shooter? 100%. This guy went 9 for 9 in the finals with the flu. Right. With the flu. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying it's ridiculous. It's so dumb, and I don't know why there's any comparison with these guys. It's so stupid.
Right.
It's so dumb.
And depending on the course of NBA history, you might see Jokic as one of the most unique prototypes the game has ever seen, for sure. And that's where I think his legacy will go down at that point. But to already rank him number one, just because Steve Kerr is coaching against him, and Steve Kerr, I guess, has a bias against all these centers he played against in the 90s, it sounds more petty than it does actually an intelligent statement right now. Can he get there? Yeah, but he still needs at least 8 more seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's so early called. Yes, innovative and doing something that nobody's done at that position. Yeah, you could say that because he has, but to put him up there as one of the best as of right now, he hasn't played long enough. Is he doing things that no other? But then that he doesn't want to compare eras. But you think about the dream and how people are still going to him for advice and post moves and things that he created. So I think there's just not enough data for him to say what he's doing right now, yes, is different than any other center has done. But to put him up as one of the best right now and compare him to the ones that came before him, I think was a little outlandish. He could have said it in different ways where it made a little bit more sense of doing things that no other center has really done. But to be considered the best, now if we're having this conversation in 6-7 years,
right,
and he's still doing it, then the conversation comes about. But
then
then
we could argue.
But then that era comes back in, though, right?
And Jabba, I think that's what he's kind of saying. Like the last 3 years, Jokic has been one of the best that he's seen do it. And he even said in the interview, like, I didn't get to play with Kareem that long. He's at the tail end of his career. But like what I've seen recently is Jokic is one of the best to ever do it. It wasn't he's like, this guy's the greatest. He would kill Kareem. He didn't say it like cocky. He's just like what he's been doing the last 3 years. He's been on an incredible run, and he's one of the best to be in the league right now and to ever do it. I think it was just like a backhanded comment because a reporter asked him a question. I don't think he was trying to diss eras. It was kind of a nonchalant answer if you look and watch it.
The only thing amazing about what Nikola Jokic is doing that really stands out, not just the triple-double, the guy was a second-round draft pick. Kareem was the first #1 pick in the draft. So when you look at where these guys come from, they're completely from different parts of the world. And this guy,
2 different games.
He's revolutionized the position. He did.
Dude, 30, 13, and 10 is revolutionizing a position as well. That's what this guy's averaging this year. It's never happened. And you could talk all you want about Russell Westbrook, the year that he hogged the ball. No, they weren't really a good team when he did that. We know James Harden was on a good team with Chris Paul when he had similar stats where it was close to a triple-double. I don't know if he actually got the full triple-double, but he was right there with
that was his MVP.
He was right there with Westbrook with that like ball dominant, complete ISO with his crazy traveling that they never called, back on those crazy teams. But this is not that. This is a guy facilitating, playing like a point center and being able to shoot almost as good as Dirk and facilitate, make behind the back passes like he's Bill Walton at center. And then at the same time, be one of the 3 best rebounders in the league. That's never happened. Never. So Steve Kerr's not wrong about that. Kareem never did that. He wasn't that type of a passer.
It was a different sport. It was a different game.
Oh, no. But that's all Steve Kerr was saying. To me, he was just saying, we're seeing him do stuff that no one's ever done. Never saw Kareem do that.
He just says it. I think Steve Kerr needs to zipper his mouth. Why is he opening? If it's Greg Popovich or it's Pat Riley or one of those guys, I respect those guys. Those guys are special GMs and coaches. These guys are looked at as the greatest at their respectable positions. I look at Steve Kerr. He coached great players. When he took over Golden State, Steph Curry was in the prime of his career. Thompson was in the prime of his career. Draymond Green was in the prime of his career. And then after that, they brought in Kevin Durant in the prime of his career. Any one of us could have coached those teams. Stop with this. And everybody says, oh, he's so great. He's the greatest coach of this era. I'd be the greatest coach of that era.
Errol, I have a feeling you wouldn't get along with Draymond Green in the locker room.
No, I wouldn't.
I don't know if you'd be able to coach that Draymond team.
No, because I wouldn't kiss his ass. That's what I'm not going to.
I know, and you guys are getting a fight the first day.
Oh, you're damn right. And I take this iPad and shove it up his ass. That's what I would do. God knows he likes to show his testicles on Snapchat. That guy is a weirdo. Their whole organization is weird.
You'd have to pull off.
Let me ask you guys a question. Here's a good question. The GM who practically built this team, who obviously picked Steve Kerr after Mark Jackson was thrown to the Wolves. What happened to him? Where did he disappear to?
A different sport.
I'll tell you what he did to. He left before all this started crashing down. And this team is not winning a championship. They might get close. They're not winning the championship. They're not good enough. And I like Steph Curry, what he's doing this year. It's special. He's doing some great things right now, and he's putting up big numbers. Let's be honest. They're not beating the Lakers in a 7-game series. OKC's going to beat them because they're young and they're fun to watch. I think it's going to be OKC and the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals.
Watch out for playoff Jimmy. Watch out for playoff Jimmy.
I like Jimmy too, but Jimmy Two Shoes is he likes to open up his mouth to the referees, especially over the last couple of weeks, and he's gotten himself into a little bit of trouble. So his problem is he just needs to zipper his mouth, and he won't because that's Jimmy Buckets. So I call him Jimmy Two Shoes now because he wears the different sneakers now, the different color sneakers. It's pretty funny. So I call him Jimmy Two Shoes. That's not for you, Owen. I gave him a new nickname.
So he doesn't have that
Jimmy
Two
Two Shoes
hairstyle he had last year.
Yeah, well, I won't.
Speedy, you didn't like that hairstyle, the blowout? That wasn't your thing?
No. Did you see the commercial that he was in with that blowout? Did you see that? I think, was it Taco Bell? It was something. He was wearing a blowout. Dude, yes. Whatever he did, dude, he looked like a female. I mean, he looked like a girl. Yes, I didn't even know that was him when he was doing some of the interviews that he was doing. He looked like, I don't know, he looked like a woman. So I love the personality that Jimmy Butler is. I love Nikola Jokic because he goes out there. He's pretty kind and collective. Do you know his brothers are like really, in depth with the mafia over there in Serbia? I mean, the guy comes from a crazy family, and the guy is just one of those guys that you just fall in love with. You like him. He's nice.
There's a reason he's so protective of his horses after the NBA Finals.
Dude, when they lost against the United States basketball team in the Olympics, and they interviewed him, he said that this is the best team he's ever played for, the closest team he's ever played for. And that's coming from a guy that won an NBA championship. Okay? Just think about that. That shows you how close he is to the players that he plays with and how much love he gives to the players that he's around. That's special.
And he and Luka, I think, both said that they would rather win a gold medal for their country than an NBA title.
They both said that. Yep, 100%. And Luka Doncic and him, to me, are the two best players in the league. I don't care what this says. I think they're the two best players in the league. Look what he's doing to the Lakers. The Lakers they're going to wind up the number 2 seed. The number 2 seed. Okay.
They're still going to give Shai the MVP this year, though.
It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It just shows you how stupid the league is. It really does. And I like Shai. I think he's special, but he's not this guy. He's not. So, and that's coming from me, who I think Steve Kerr is a complete idiot. That's just what I'm saying. Oh my God, what a show!
All right,
we got another segment. Dial it up, Speedy.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled hot mix to bring you important news. We got a big broadcast to do here. We're about to dial it up.
Okay, guys, welcome to Dial It Up. We got a handful of stories here that Errol has not seen yet. We're going to start them off right here with the UConn Lady Huskies being national champions once again. They defeated the South Carolina Lady, I guess the Lady Gamecocks over there, 82-59 in the Sunday's championship game. This is head coach Gino Auriemma and UConn's 12th national championship behind a 3-headed monster of seniors Paige Beckers, Aziz Fudd, and we're getting a little antsy here. My little
whoa,
and Sarah Strong, a freshman who dominated in that game. Her stats I have right here, I think it was like 24 and 15 with 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. Errol, Lady Huskies on top of the world once again. All is right. Dial it up.
I watched bits and pieces of this game. They were up by 10 going into the second half, and then all of a sudden just blew out the second best team in the country. Well, they were the best team going into the game, but knocked off now the second best team in the country. Honestly, it was fun to watch. Buchers she's special. She's probably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Obviously, she's putting up numbers. She's going to get that Nike deal. And that kid Strong, she's going to be there for a couple of years. She's the next big superstar for UConn basketball. They got a crazy recruiting class coming in now. You're talking about 2 of the best in the country. One of them, they said, that actually can beat any of the men coming out of this year's class. So it's incredible what Ariano is doing right now, and 12 championships for the UConn Huskies. I'm sorry. It's fun to watch, and it was very, very fun to watch another championship for the UConn Huskies.
Yeah, you have to be happy for Beckers too. All the injuries that she's had to overcome. Azzi fought another one that overcome 2 major injuries. She couldn't play in the last time they were in the national championship game. And UConn, like we were talking about with the men last year, they dominated every game against 3-1 seeds, and then early in the tournament too, winning 30-point games. It was absolutely an incredible run for them. And good for Beckers being able to do it. And a lot of people were saying that Strong is going to turn into the best player in college basketball, and people should be afraid she's only a freshman. So.
And congratulations to South Carolina. Yeah, I mean, they were there last year. Mm-hmm. They were in the same spot last year and lost the same way last year. So congratulations to them.
Yeah, South Carolina was considered to be considered a modern dynasty. They weren't as good offensively this year, but they were still really good. And UConn just even took it to them with everything that they had defensively as well, in addition to their offense.
All right, next story coming on up. We've got, Club Shay Shay. Shannon Sharp calls out the NFL for changing the rules. Get this, Errol, to get the Bills to the Super Bowl. Yes, on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Shannon Sharp told Chad Ochocinco, hey, Buffalo, you got to be on the right side of history. Y'all had a lead with 13 seconds left. Listen, Ocho, you deserve to lose. If you have a lead with 13 seconds, you allow a team to get in field goal range, you deserve to lose. You earned that loss. This is what the Chiefs fans are saying. Damn, they want Buffalo to get the Super Bowl so bad, they changed the rules to help them. And guess what? They're going to find another way to lose anyway. Errol,
dial it up.
Why is anybody listening to Shay Shay? Honest to God, he's Stephen A. Smith's butt buddy. He's on that show. He opens his mouth too much. His stupid show. He's sitting in front of the fireplace drinking his Grey Poupon or whatever the hell he drinks over there.
Grey Poupon?
I don't know. I don't know what he's drinking.
You drink, Aaron. You drink that.
I don't drink anything, okay?
You and your honey mustard.
That's damn right. I'll drink the honey mustard before I drink a drink. But honest to God, I don't know why he's speaking. And honestly, obviously, everybody likes to hate on the Bills. Nobody likes the Bills, and everybody's got something to say about Josh Allen. Why is Josh Allen in the Bills always somebody or something that everybody wants to pick on? Every single offseason, going into the new season, somebody wants to drop the hammer on some organization or some team, and it's always the Bills. This guy is the MVP. Should he have been the MVP? No. Lamar Jackson should be the MVP, but he well-deserved on the season that he had. This guy has taken so much pressure throughout the last couple of years and always come on top. He just can't get over the hump. I don't think it had anything to do with the rules and what the NFL is trying to do. I just think they keep falling short because they can't make that final play. And by the way, they stopped running the ball. That's why they lost that game. If they ran the ball, they probably won that game and knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. That's why they lost the game, not because of a field goal.
I don't think that this rule is as okay. People say that it's to get the Bills back into the Super Bowl, but Patrick Mahomes was complaining about this rule, and my thing is about I feel like that the older format, of course, this being in the sudden death, first to score a touchdown, then you're kind of even more of a sudden death with the field goal situation. I think that rule makes sense only for that. It displays the other team's defense, and that this team is able to go up against one of the better offenses on the team and able to get the ball back for their team to score a touchdown and do what's necessary. So I don't like this rule. Yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
Okay, let's go to the next story. Errol, you're going to love this next story.
I can't wait to hear this one.
Oh, it's your boy Dan Orlovsky and Shador saying that there's a double standard with Baker Mayfield and Shador Sanders. Dan Orlovsky said, we can't praise Baker Mayfield and fall in love with Baker Mayfield because of his charisma, cockiness, his self-belief, and then kind of view it differently with Shador. I also loved his answer when he talked about why he threw, and he said not at the combine, but at his own pro day. Well, there were some teammates of mine that didn't get to go to the combine or didn't get invited. I knew if I threw, all those teams would come from the NFL, and his teammates would have the necessary eyes. I love every part of that answer because that's leadership. Well, Baker Mayfield was number 1 pick for Cleveland, bounced around, found a home in Tampa. Is the Shador comparison fair? Dial it up, Errol.
Not a chance in hell. Shador Sanders opens his mouth way too much. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't gone anywhere. He played in a league in a division nobody cares about. He played for, obviously, Oklahoma. And this guy was a Heisman Trophy candidate. Shedeur was never a Heisman Trophy candidate. I'm so tired of hearing Dan Orlovsky open his mouth and yap his mouth. Everything that comes out of this guy's mouth makes me want to throw up and hurl. I like that he's trying to compare the grittiness and obviously the personalities. Yeah, he had a personality. Guess what? I didn't see Shedeur run around naked around his campus and do the things that he's done, or actually go out there with a flag and stick it to another team's logo. No, he didn't do that. You know what he did? I'll tell you what he did. He went to the combine and told everybody, I'm the greatest, I'm this, I'm that. Didn't throw the ball. And then he went to his pro day and just yaps his big friggin' mouth again. You didn't see Baker Mayfield do this. And Baker Mayfield is actually undersized. He's actually smaller than Shedeur Sanders. And he's gone out. He went to the Browns. The Browns tossed him to the ground and told him to go away. He goes to 2 different organizations before he found a home. This guy has a future in the NFL, and Baker Mayfield. Shedeur will be disappearing in 3 or 4 years.
I think the comparison is actually fair. I mean, Baker Mayfield, when he came out of college, he was holding his nuts to Kansas. He was getting arrested by the cops on camera. He was doing a lot of things, maybe not opening his mouth as much, but he was just getting arrested and doing dumb shit on the field. But I mean, the comparison of those two, Shedeur says he's good, he's the best. What's wrong with that? Don't you want a guy that's coming in confident? You want him to say, "Hey, I'm average, I'm below average."
Did you hear Jaden Daniel say that? Did you hear Jaden Daniel?
I'm sure he did. You don't hear that.
He did not say that. He did not say
Jaden Daniels said I should have been the number 1 overall pick. He has said
that. No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Arrogant.
No, he didn't. He says whoever didn't draft him at number 1 is going to regret it. That's
the same thing.
That's not arrogance. Going out and saying, I'm the best this, I'm the best that, I'm this, I'm that.
If he's the best in the draft, why would you want him?
He's not the best.
If he thinks he's the best in the draft, you want that coming in. So you want a guy that just says, I'm average, pick Cam Ward ahead of me because I think he's better than me.
Stop using your father as somebody to
I think Baker and Shedeur could be the same type of quarterback.
No way in hell.
You wouldn't have said that until Baker went to Tampa and has really great receivers around him. But he found a home.
I loved him with the Browns. The Browns just tossed him to the side. I loved him with the
Browns.
Because
he wasn't winning.
What are you talking about? He was 1 play away from going to the AFC title game.
He wasn't winning.
That trick play changed everything. And he played very well.
And he was running his mouth, and he's the same type of person Shedeur is.
His wife was running his mouth.
And Dion is the reason that Shadeur's getting all the hate, because Shedeur isn't the bad person. Dion coming up and saying, my son, my son, my son. If he wasn't a Sanders, you would have been like, oh, I love this guy. He's competitive.
And it's going to be because of Shedeur, you're going to be wearing a dress and a wig.
Well, whatever.
Shedeur's going to be drafted by the Browns, and we'll see how that comparison goes.
All right, let's move on from this one. But good story. We got a couple left. Next one up. Oh, here's one that's real interesting, baseball fans. The Pirates take down the Roberto Clemente 21 on the right field wall for an alcohol ad. The Pirates found themselves profusely apologizing for removing the honorary 21 from the right field wall for Roberto Clemente and replacing it with a Surfside alcohol advertisement. The Clemente family and fans were furious and let the team know it, who called it an honest mistake and that the 21 will be put back. Clemente is in the Hall of Fame. That's the greatest Puerto Rican player of all time. He died in a plane crash, as many of us know, in 1973, bringing humanitarian aid to Nicaragua after an earthquake. Errol, dial it up.
So disrespectful. The Pirates organization, they've been a very classy organization over the years. Even though they've been bad, they have a very good stadium. The fans always pack out. They love their baseball. They love their baseball team, no matter how bad they are. They have 2 of the best young pitchers in all of baseball. And then they go and do this. They take number 21 for a damn ad. That doesn't make any sense. And by the way, the only reason why they're coming out and protecting themselves now is because of all the craziness that's going on social media and all the fans in the Clemente family. It's despicable. This guy is not only the greatest pirate of all time, one of the greatest Puerto Rican Spanish players to ever play the game. And he didn't even really finish his career. If he wasn't in that plane accident, he probably plays another 10 years and breaks records. Despicable by the Pirates organization. There's somebody needs to be smacked around over there.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was reading an article about it that the guy said he oversaw it or he overlooked it. Like, didn't think that the 21. Like, what are you thinking, bro? Like, 21 holds significant value within your organization. You're just gonna slap a freaking beer poster on there. It's freaking Roberto Clemente. When you think of Pittsburgh Pirates, you think of Roberto Clemente and now Paul Skeens and maybe Andrew Kutcher, but it's Roberto Clemente. He's the greatest Pittsburgh Pirate player of all time, the greatest Puerto Rican player of all time. And I'm happy that his family let him have it because that's absolute trash. And I hope that they do turn it around. They're going to end up putting something in there. They need to put they just need to name it the Roberto Clemente Stadium. That way they never forget it.
It's like the Yankees taking the number 3 off something in Yankee Stadium. And it's
throwing a Zenner freaking logo out there.
Yeah,
the frat boys will love it, but true baseball fans will not.
It's all Jaba's fault. It's Jaba Chamberlain's fault. He told the Pittsburgh Pirates to do that. So blame it on Jaba.
Pirates.
Well, I love that park.
I think everybody loves that park.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Hopefully they they figure it out over there and realize, we have 21 on our sleeves. Maybe we should keep that on the stadium. You know what I'm saying?
All right, we got one story left. That was another good one. Whenever you got to replace, a Hall of Fame most important guy in your franchise with an iced tea vodka drink on your wall.
Even better.
You got to do it. So here we go. We got one last story for Dial It Up, and it is my boy Ja Morant fined $75,000 for repeated finger gun gestures. Yes, Ja Morant was fined by $75,000 by the NBA on Friday after repeatedly using his finger gun celebration, despite being warned multiple times as recently as last Tuesday after an incident with Warriors Buddy Hield. Morant has been in trouble with the league over brandishing guns in the past. The Grizzlies fired their coach last week and have fallen to the 8th seed now in the Western Conference. Errol, dial it up.
I'm starting to worry about this kid. As special as he is and watching him play basketball, there's not many guys electrifying like him in the league. He's so fun to watch, jumping over people, dunking the ball, shooting, and honestly taking his team all the way to the playoffs where everybody thought that this team was just a disaster over the last couple of years. This guy comes back this year and puts up the numbers. He's so fun to watch. But when he has done repeated things in the NBA, we had Tim Hardaway on this show, and he said that somebody needs to sit down and talk to this kid. Ex-players need to sit down and have a conversation with this kid on why he shouldn't be doing the things that he is doing off the court. Now he's doing it on the court. I don't know what is going on in this kid's head. Is his parents actually up his ass trying to tell him to be professional? This guy is a multimillionaire. He has an opportunity to be so special in the future. How old is he? 24 years old? He hasn't even hit his prime, and he's doing all these stupid things. When he's ready to get that next contract, is the Memphis Grizzlies or is any NBA team going to take a chance with this kid? You could see it in 5 years from now that you're going to hear that this guy went to a grocery store and shot up a grocery store because somebody threw something at him. I mean, seriously, just think about it. You say, no, this guy has pulled out his gun 3 times and one time on a basketball court over there because a kid threw something at him or, dunked the ball on him or something like that.
I will say this, though. Shooters going to shoot. Shooters going to shoot.
I don't know, man. Plaxico Borges shot himself in his leg, okay? Bringing a gun into in a club. I mean, if anybody is going to do something stupid, as we've seen over the last couple of years in professional sports, it seems like Ja Morant is moving towards that. I mean, this is not something good. And the NBA has a chance to stop this. When are they going to actually step in and tell the kid, you're not playing for a whole season. Sit out and get your head straight. Because they did it to Ron Artest, and Ron Artest never did anything as bad as this guy.
That's
anything.
meta world peace. Meta world peace.
Nick's
No,
legit.
it's the same thing, you know, and it's who does he have around him? You know, he has the opportunity to, you know, to be able to surround himself with, you know, it feels like there's just a bunch of yes men around him where they just kind of let him do whatever he wants to do, and there's nobody to, you know, hold him accountable, right? And you know, he has all the talent in the world, you know, and he continues to not do what he should be doing, and we all make mistakes. Yeah, I mean, I get it, but also where he knows in this day and age everything is portrayed differently because now everybody is a photographer, everybody has a camera phone, like all these other things. So, and then to just like blatantly do it during a game, like you know exactly what you're doing. That's why you get fined. And I get the fining, but can you really suspend him for doing? I mean, I get the fine. Is even suspending him, is that worse than actually having him play? Because now he has more time on his hands. What's going to happen then? So I think obviously being on the court and being able to obviously play the game is probably better for him than if you suspended him for a year and be like, figure your stuff out. Then it's you have all the time in the world knowing you don't have to go and report and do anything. So I don't think that's the answer. I think you just keep finding him, like, because now if you suspend him, now if he does something that warrants a suspension, then yes, like I'm not saying I'm going to go as far as you did, Errol, but if there is something along those lines where, you know, it becomes something that, you know, warrants a suspension, then 100%. But I don't think that's going to be in the best interest of him.
$75,000, Jabba. $75,000. This guy makes $30 million a year right now as a young player.
I don't care. It's still whatever.
Pocket. He doesn't care. What you're telling him is, okay, we're going to keep you on the court because we don't want you off the court because you're going to cause even more problems. Grow the hell up. Grow up. You're a professional athlete. Nobody gets paid as much as you do playing a damn basketball game, throwing a ball in a basket, and you're doing the things that you're doing offset of the dumb things that you've done off the court. I mean, it's despicable. The NBA needs to control this kid. Do something. Lock him in a room and throw the key out. Do something. Tie him to a wall. He doesn't listen. He's doing stupid things. You're teaching kids on shooting, pretending you're shooting. What are these kids going to do? They're going to go out and buy a gun. That's what they're going to want to do. They're going to be like Ja Morant. Ja, get me a gun, daddy and mommy. I just watched something on freaking Hulu the other day of the two parents that just got convicted for what their son did, shooting up a school. It's despicable. And they allowed it to happen. What is it going to take for this guy to understand what's going on in the world? He's an idiot. He's a jackass. And somebody needs to step in and teach this guy a lesson.
Well, I guess Adam Silver is going to be trying to do that for him. Guys, it's been another rousing episode of Dial It Up.
Yeah, for the LJ, LeBron James Association. As we all know, LeBron makes all the rules, as he's been doing over the last couple of years, as he cries. You see his son? He's still on this Laker team. This guy should not be playing NBA basketball, and he's on the Lakers. So if he's playing, I mean, Speedy could play on the Lakers. I mean, seriously. It's ridiculous. But again, it's LeBron James Association. So we all know about that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our final segment of the show, as we call this, What's That Smell?
Hold on. What is that smell? What's that smell?
Wow. You don't see that every day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know the rules of this game. It's pretty simple. We're going to give you our top story, bad or good, and we're going to tell you what's that smell, as we'll give you what it smells like. It could be bad. It could be good. It could smell like roses, as Jabba gives you the most weirdest takes when it comes to smelling whatever it smells like. All right, we're going to go with Tommy, Fish, Goody, Owen, Speedy, Jabba, me. Here we go.
All right. So over the
Why
weekend,
do you do that all the time? All right. Is that like a trademark for you? By the way,
I guess.
By the way,
I'll steal it from McConaughey.
I want to give a congratulations.
All right.
I want to give a congratulations to the Florida Gators for winning the national championship. Congratulations to them.
They did it. Yeah, and
Another
actually,
comeback win.
it's going to be sort of starting with the Florida Gators because the now national champion Florida Gators over the weekend, it was the Final Four, of course. They played Auburn. Walter Clayton had himself a day, helped get his team into the national championship, which they now won. Stephen A. went on to his Twitter and posted saying how Walter Clayton reminds him of an even younger version of Pistons point guard. He said Wade Cunningham, trying to compare him, of course, to Cade Cunningham, where if you look up who Wade Cunningham is a race car driver from New Zealand. So I found this hilarious because the comments on this comment section was absolutely funny, absolutely hilarious. And now I don't know if this was Stephen A. himself that posted this, one of his social media interns, but it smells like Stephen A.'s toilet bowl after having one of LeBron's famous tacos on Taco Tuesday. So yeah.
Okay, I got the next one for What's That Smell? And I'm going to baseball, where Houston Astros right-hander Spencer Arrighetti broke his right thumb when he was hit by a line drive playing catch in left field before Monday night's game against Seattle. He's being evaluated, but he has a broken thumb. To me, whenever bad things happen to the cheater organization known as the Houston Astros that stole potential 2017 World Series away from the New York Yankees, it makes me kind of happy inside. But I feel bad for Mr. Arrighetti. So what does it smell like? It is Spencer hurt his thumb-o, SpaghettiOs for Arrighetti over there. It is all over for Houston. Let's hope they have a terrible season.
Wow. Well, my what's that smell is I don't know if you found this or looked this up or not, but the dire wolf that has been extinct for 10,000 years. You like that?
I saw that one. I saw it.
2 wolves were brought back from extinction using genome edits derived from a complete direwolf genome meticulously reconstructed by the company called Colossal from ancient DNA found in fossils dating back 11,572,000 years. The company said, by achieving this, we continue to push forward our broader mission on accepting humanity's duty to restore Earth to a healthier state. They're also the first company to use the CRISPR technology. This smells like a giant T-Rex shit on humanity because at this point we're trending towards Jurassic Park. I don't know if anybody has seen Jurassic Park. I'm sure you all have multiple times, but that's where we're going. And this is it. Humanity is done.
Science.
Yeah. Trust the science. Yeah, trust this.
Yeah, that's crazy. My what's that smell is I'm going to give a shout out first to the NHL and their past players for obviously like Gretzky going to see Ovechkin's goals. He's been at like 10 out of his last 11 games or something to see how quick he would do that. The All-Star game success. So my what's that smell is the other leagues that are shitting the bed on this process. LeBron saying that Giannis could score 270 points, trashing their leagues. Even Steve Kerr saying Kareem wasn't as good as Joker. They trash their leagues. All the other sports trash their leagues, their Pro Bowls, everything suck. So that what's that smell is skunked because the NHL has skunked them this year in everything they've done. And shout out to the NHL because they need more credit than they get.
Well, I'm going to give a little more of a backtrack to that. The NHL did do a very good job, and the Islanders organization did a very good job.
We lost you, sweetie.
It was just a cap.
Is it their internet?
Yeah, I think the studio's freezing up over there on the island.
It's the Gilgo Killer coming over.
Let's assume Speedy was talking about. What do you think? What do you think he was talking about?
I don't know where he was going to go with that because he said he was going to kind of feed off what Owen just said. So I don't know.
Sounds like they have poopy internet.
Yeah, it smells like their internet.
Smells like poopy Long Island internet.
Yeah.
Smells like a gerbil in Richard Gere's ass.
That
smells like a. We'll keep it straight.
Yeah,
well, I don't want to end the show without him. We got to get rid of Tommy's frozen face over here real quick.
I'll do mine.
Go ahead, Jabba. Go for it.
Mine was, I don't know if you guys read this, but supposedly Ja Rule put a 30-year curse on the Timberwolves because, as he states, he goes, they were doing a concert and I heard it was terrible. And he goes, we were hustled, scammed, bamboozled, hoodwinked, and led astray. You guys will not win a championship for 30 years. Well, they probably weren't going to win one anyways. But so I was like, really, Ja Rule? I didn't even know you actually were still performing.
Everybody love the baby.
I mean, he did have some bangers, I will say that. But I was like, bamboozled and hoodwinked? Like, okay, whatever.
He's a clown, dude.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? That just smells like you just feeling like you're more entitled, and it smells like old 30-day non-wash vagina.
30 days.
Wow.
Wow. That's, I mean, from Ja
Errol
Rule.
would, though. Errol still would.
Yucky. Errol would for sure.
Yucky poo-poo.
Yeah. Errol would.
Well,
yeah. How do we end this now, Fish?
No, I think Errol will find his way back, or he'll text me and say end it. But I will say, guys, we are going to be on Wednesday this week. Errol is leaving on vacation the next day. He doesn't do that very often, which means the following week we will be having a show on Tuesday where I will be filling in for Errol as at least the leader of the show as far as leading the things going, but everything else will go normally. We'll have the same type of bits. Job of going to be leaning on you guys more than normal. Obviously, it's my first time ever doing something like that, so I hope everyone enjoys. We're going to have some fun. Going to be a little bit more crazy on my kind of level of crazy, and I'm really excited about it. But I know that the guys are a little upset about how the internet's going tonight. I think what we'll just do is we'll call it here. I know how to end the stream, so I will click on that. We'll say, just hope everyone has a really good night. Job, you have any last words for the fans before we sign off?
No, just appreciate everybody watching. Remember to subscribe and check out us on all of our platforms and continue to follow us because you never know what the hell's going to happen on this show.
Yeah, and it was a really great show. Goody, great job with the Bag of Balls segment and filling in, talking about a lot of baseball this week. We'll have some more baseball segments every week. We'll have the Inside Baseball segment and our Bullpen Life segment on Wednesday this week. Again, Wednesday is our next show, guys. You can find us streaming on Apple, on Spotify. You can download our show. We're in video and audio on those platforms. Also, you can find us live on TikTok. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere there's social medias. You guys look for us. You should be able to find us. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great night, everyone.
See ya.